Hey everyone, you're listening to the official podcast of 4playernetwork.com. Check us out at that address for everything you need to know about our community, monthly giveaways, and nightly live streams. You can even support us on Patreon at patreon.com/4player. And last but not least, you can catch the live recordings of these podcasts every single Thursday night on our Twitch channel. We hope to see you there. Enjoy. Here we go. Okay.
Shut the 14 years, Nick. Shut the fuck up.
You know what? That's a perfect way to start this podcast. Hey everyone, welcome to 4Player Podcast. This is episode 708. My name is Nick Henderson, and I am joined tonight by Brad Simons.
Hello, it's me, Brad.
It feels good saying that again after how long has it been? 5 months or so away?
5 months. Yeah.
Damn. It's good to have you back, Brad. Chris Davis is also joining us tonight.
Oh my god, this is going to be a show.
It's going to be a show. It's going to be a long one, guys. Actually, well, if you're listening to the audio, it's not going to be quite as long, so I'm going to break it up. We'll get to that in a second. Ed is here. Hello, Ed.
I feel like everyone's all sad about the show, but come on, you gotta get hyped. Gotta get hyped. Gotta be the positive influence, I guess.
I'm drinking a Mountain Dew energy.
I mean, I'm super hyped. I'm usually super hyped for like the first 3 segments.
It'll be great. It'll be great.
This is our most dire responsibility. This is a burden, Ed.
Crispy is here as well. Hello, Crispy.
Hello, how's it going? I didn't play enough
right.
games this year, so you're going to be hearing me say the same 4 games over and over again.
Yet you've probably played the most video games.
Oh, you know what? Like, I think I have a very lean list this year, but I think it's all cream of the crop. I think it's all just the best.
Just perfect. All right.
Most
I can't wait
played.
to hear from you. And rounding out the table tonight, of course, is Nolan. Hello, Nolan.
Oh, hello. I'm here. To talk about video games.
Talk about video games. Guys, this is our 2021 award show. We do this every year. We like to put a little bow on the year that came prior, talk about all the games that we loved and maybe didn't love so much, which is what we're going to do tonight. We have about 23 categories to run through, and we have all 6 of us here to do this. So it's going to be a long one. So first of all, I want to send a shout out to everyone watching us live on Twitch at twitch.tv/4playerpodcast. We appreciate you coming to hang out with us for the long haul through this show. If you're an audio listener, I'm going to be breaking this up into 5 smaller episodes that I'll release basically one a day starting on Monday. So bite-sized podcast, but you'll have a lot of stuff to listen to when these start dropping. So we're not going to waste a ton of time. We got a lot of stuff to do, a lot of stuff to talk about. But again, 2021 awards. We're going to start with our first category. Are y'all just ready to jump into it?
I say we go.
All right. And if you're watching live, you may notice we have a little bit of a different setup this year. We're trying some new things. So we're actually going to display our winners and our runners-up. Is it runner-ups, or runners-up?
It's runners-up.
It could be runners-ups.
Runner-ups.
Runners-ups. I'm glad I didn't type that.
Runner-up.
Wait. I'm sorry. What is it actually?
Runners-up.
Runners-up. Runner-up.
Yes.
I think it's just runner-up, but okay.
No, I'm really glad we're not dilly-dallying at all tonight.
This show.
Right. Sorry. I missed you, Brad. Getting back on track. We're starting with our first category tonight. Actually, I think customarily speaking, I used to, when we do these I'll start the segment by outlining the awards we're going to do in that segment. So this segment, before we get to our first break, we're doing our best new gameplay experience, best sequel, best game feel, and the most addictive game of 2021. And we're going to go in order of the names that you see on the screen here. We're going to do a runner-up and a winner for each category. So we're going to start with Brad. Brad's name's at the top of the list.
Hello.
What is your runner-up for best new gameplay experience?
My runners-ups is for best new gameplay experience is Blinking in a little game called Before Your Eyes. It is a narrative adventure game, but the way you advance the game is by blinking. You actually have to hook up your webcam and it detects when your eyes are open, and when you blink, time moves forward in the life of a child. So it's and there's moments where you're like, oh, what's happening? Or there's like a little mini game, and it's like, but you're trying to blink to get the most out of that scene, because once you blink, it's gone, man.
Well, I mean,
Just
it's
like
the it's
life.
the it's the old adage: blink and you'll miss it.
Exactly.
Man,
But
it's funny.
then
I forgot this game came out this year. I remember talking about this earlier in the year. That seems
it's a
like so
cool
long
game,
ago.
but it's also very emotional, and when you're bawling, it's hard not to blink. So that's my runner-up. My winner for
Runners up.
runners-ups. My winner for best new gameplay experience is from Monster Hunter Rise: The Wire Bug, which
Ah,
I was
I
about to be like,
damn it,
what?
we should have made Crispy go first. He played 6 games. I'm gonna steal all of them.
no, yeah, but that is totally mine.
The the wire bug from Monster Hunter Rise was a
It's so
revelation.
good. It's so
I
good.
feel like traditionally in Monster Hunter, you're so like clunky and locked to the ground. You're climbing like vines that they tell you can climb, but the wire bug just opens it up, and the maps open up with it, and now you can just go anywhere, and you're just you're like fucking Spider-Man. It's absolutely amazing, and just to throw in there the Palamute, a rideable dog, wolf,
Yes.
pretty awesome as well. So
You're
yeah,
you're almost too mobile in this game. Like
shut up. You're not too
you just
mobile.
like you're too mobile. It's just like you're just everywhere. Wherever you want to be, you just think about it and you're fucking there. And you looked really cool getting there. Like it's awesome.
It's true. There is arguments that the monsters were not really able to keep up with the advancements and movements of the player, and that's why Rise is easier than other Monster Hunter games. But we'll see. The Master Rank expansion's coming out this summer. We'll all get
Man,
our
I'm gonna
asses
be
I like to
I'm
think
gonna
of it as delightfully breezy.
I'm gonna be honest. I have a hard time imagining playing Monster Hunter now without the wire bug. It's just so
Yeah.
weird.
Right?
It's
Right?
weird.
It ruined Monster Hunter. Like you
It's
can't go
weird.
back now.
All right. I guess I'm next. My runner up for best new gameplay experience, and I guess this is best new gameplay experience for me. It may not necessarily be for everybody, but Inscription is maybe the first card or deck based game I think I've ever
Since
played.
Triple
Really.
Triad.
Uh, sure. I guess if you want to call, yeah, if you want to consider consider that, that is
Find
probably
it
the last card based game.
so funny that Nick wasn't like a Magic the Gathering kid in high school. Like,
I don't know how to feel about that comment.
no, I just mean
Nick
like you
shoved the
would have.
Magic the Gathering kids into
Dude,
lockers.
I sat at that table.
Yeah,
You belonged there. Like you belonged there. You had too
Oh,
many
that's-
cool friends. That's what it was, isn't it? You had
I
too
didn't
many
even have
jock
any
friends.
You know what? Inscription. It's. I think anybody who's played it would agree that it's wholly unique, right? That game is. It does.
Yeah,
seem-
like
Pretty
I would
crazy.
almost say it's not the card battling that makes it the best.
Yeah,
new gameplay
absolutely. I
experience.
mean, I think you know it's a little imbalanced and maybe intentionally so with the way it the card based the deck based stuff works, but at the same
Easy to
time
break.
it's very approachable and very very unique in the way it presents its story and its mechanics and all the stuff. So I really enjoyed my time with that. But my winner goes to It Takes Two, because and as someone who doesn't play a lot of multiplayer games, and I haven't had a lot of opportunities to play something cooperatively with Robin. We both tend to gravitate towards other kinds of games, but we've both taken to playing It Takes Two quite a bit. It's so diverse in its mechanics, and you're doing
Yeah.
so many different things at all times.
Can I
it's
jump
just-
in real quick, Nick?
Yeah, sure.
Because this is my runner-up. And since I'm literally about to say that as the next thing, yes, I agree with you. That's one of the best things about It Takes Two is not that it's just unique. It's that uniqueness carries on throughout the game because each section is almost wholly unique. Each
Yeah.
time you go to a new area, new mechanics, new ways to kind of explore the world.
And it's not
Right,
like one of
right.
those things where it's like rote for, or like once you do it and it's over, you're like, oh, I really wish I could do more of those mechanics. It's like they spend enough time focus on those mechanics and then they move on, and you're happy
Those
with that
levels are so
experience,
big.
right? They're so big, but they're so like grandiose as well that like when you move on, you're like ready to move on, and also you get a new gameplay experience after that, right?
I would say that they are grandiose and they're big, but I would also, maybe counterintuitively say they don't overstay their welcome either.
Yeah, I agree.
It's one of those things where I think they have a really good balance of depending on the game. Sometimes, there could be a kind of a quirky, oh, this is an interesting mechanic, but then it kind of gets old really fast. I think these ones, because the areas are well sized, that by the time you're kind of getting used to and like really understanding and maybe getting good at this one thing, they're like, all right, well, now we're going to do a completely different thing over here.
It also
in a
wins
lot of
the
ways. Oh, go ahead.
it wins the award for most gameplay experiences of the year as well.
That's true.
Dude,
You're not wrong.
I think It Takes Two is exceptional in a lot of the same ways like Mario is exceptional. Like think about like all the creative shit they come up with in Mario, and you're always like, how did they come up with this many ideas? Like I had that same feeling playing like Mario Galaxy.
We all played It Takes Two, right? We should have had an award for best It Takes Two mini game or like
the
that
best
would've been good,
one. Sorry, just real quick, anecdote here. So playing that level where you can change your size, like you can be like giant or small, whatever. And we were trying to figure out a puzzle that involved like a seesaw. And Robin was standing on one end, and I was like, well, when we're both the same size, I'm not able to like bounce you in the thing. So maybe I need to be bigger. So like I grew in size, and then I jumped on the end of the seesaw, and she like flew into space, like turned into like a little twinkling star, and I got an achievement for it. And it was like not something that I intended to do, and we were both dying laughing. And it was just like that was such a brilliant moment, and you could miss it. You could totally miss it if your brain just didn't think to try that. So such cool moments. So Nolan, that's your runner up. What's your winner?
Correct. My winner for best new gameplay experience is, and I don't know the best way to word this without getting into spoilery territory, but I will say it is Sinning in the Forgotten City.
Oh yes.
I think that is wholly a extremely unique experience, and very interesting. And it's for those who have not played it. Like I said, I don't really want to get into spoilers because it was an interesting moment when it happened for me. And the thing was, I kind of tried to take it to heart, the golden rule, when I started that game. And so I did not actually experience that for over an hour and change, if not farther. And I didn't realize that that's kind of one of those things where, similar to like Inscription, like we'd already mentioned, that kind of changes. There's a point where like all of a sudden, no, to an extent, the game is now changed. And so that was a very interesting mechanic, and I would really love to go into spoilers on it and kind of talk about a bunch of different experiences. But
there will be some spoilers tonight, though. That's always fair game for some of these categories.
And this is not the last time I'm going to mention this game. But I think it has just it was very interesting, and I'm glad to an extent that didn't get spoiled for me. I'm glad I was able to experience that because I heard from other people who had played the game. I think Ed, like I think you had mentioned it a while back, and kind of saying like, hey, it's better to go in blind to an extent. And I'm glad I did.
Yeah, the way that game like trickles out like revealed and stuff is just really cool, really unique. Like at first glance, it's like I'm playing a Skyrim side mission, and then it's like, oh, this is way more than that.
It is funny how Skyrim it is, right? Like when you go up and talk to the first guy and he's like looking away, and then he turns around and like looking at the camera, you're like, oh, this is a Skyrim mod. Okay.
This is for honestly the first half an hour of the game, I kind of wasn't feeling it, and it's not until the kind of the twist starts to happen that you realize what this game is. And that's something that I will try to stress to anybody who gives this game a try. Like, don't let that first like kind of 15, 20, 30 minutes, however long, kind of get you down. Like if you push through and when things start to happen, it gets real
pretty good. It's pretty good. All right, Crispy, what's your runner up?
Well, I actually do have a runner-up for this one. I'm going to give my runner-up to Monster Hunter Rise for the same reasons that we talked about with Brad earlier. It takes what is already, I think, a really tight, really fun gameplay experience, and it innovates on it in like one simple but like completely foundation-shattering way. Like that wire bug is so cool. And the way that like the maps have changed to kind of accommodate the wire bug. At first, when we were talking about the maps when this game came out, we were like, oh, it's kind of like, they don't seem as intricate or as like interconnected as Monster Hunter World was. And that is still kind of true, but I think there was a lot of interesting stuff that they were doing there that we weren't quite seeing yet. And now, having played, dozens of hours, it's easier to notice how like the environment actually kind of like encourages use of the wire bug, and when you use the wire bug to get the places that like you couldn't get without it, like you get really cool stuff. There's an entire there's a map that has a giant fucking pyramid, and if you just go explore that pyramid with the wire bug, you find all kinds of like secret little chambers and stuff that have like little account items and things in there, and it's such a fun new thing that I haven't done in Monster Hunter yet, you know, and it's like I can't imagine a new Monster Hunter not having that. That's my runner up. My I'm gonna give the award this year to Deathloop.
Ah, yes.
The reason why I'm going to give it to Deathloop is because I feel like it solved a kind of like a sort of gameplay problem from previous titles like, you know, Dishonored and to a lesser extent Prey 2, but like mostly Dishonored. And that it's that kind of thing where it's like playing a high chaos playthrough in Dishonored looks really fun, but like the game does a lot to kind of discourage it, you know?
Yeah.
And like they make it harder, they give you like a worse ending. So it's like if you want to see like what they consider the canon ending, like you kind of have to go through like doing a less than lethal.
This is a
Or
great
like
point. And
yeah.
and this is
And
also why Deathloop is my runner-up.
yeah, and Deathloop really like was just like, nah, whatever, man, just go have fun with it, like, you know. And as soon as somebody says that, it's like a completely different experience, and you're like, oh, this is great. I like part of it is just like kind of a player mentality thing, but part of it is how like the actual mechanics and gameplay reinforce it. Like you're never really punished for like if you're trying to stealth and do all that, and then things go wrong, it feels so much more satisfying to like, you know, just roll with it and start shooting people and like try to get away and set traps and things like that than it ever did in Dishonored, I feel like.
Right, and it's a lot of that has to do with the fact that because it has kind of like that lore reason built in. Like when you go in guns blazing and you fail, you fuck up. It just kind of
Yeah, the
adds
whole
to
time
the
loop thing.
yeah, it
Yeah.
You're just
adds to
like
the context of everything as opposed to just making it feel like I died in a video game and now I have to restart. So
that's kind of a
that's pretty
silly
cool.
I feel like that's kind of a silly reason to feel that way about these sorts of games. It does help, but I do also think that like the kind of snappier gameplay, the actual like effectiveness of ranged weapons in this game, all kind of encourage, you know, more than just the Assassin's Creed sort of approach, you know?
Yeah, very true.
But
I
Deathloop was
see Chris
also my winner.
Davis. Yeah,
Mm.
Chris Davis highlighted as his winner. Do you have anything to add about Deathloop, or do you want to talk about your runner up first?
I mean, I'll talk about Deathloop real quick since we're talking about it.
Yeah,
It's number one. It's really fucking good, but just like the combination of, I think the game in its weakest point is the final discovered like mission structure for procedure, but like beyond that, just like exploring the environments and figuring out exactly what is the perfect way to complete your objective and discover like what the fuck has been going on this island. It just felt so good, and especially like when you do the opposite when you play as what's her name? I can't think of her name right now.
Juliana.
Juliana.
yeah.
Like it when you can actually play a match of that and you can actually invade somebody's game, which is a crapshoot to
It is.
do.
It's very fun.
It's very fun, very
Yeah.
intense. And when you can actually pull off a kill against a Cold player, it feels exhilarating.
Some of my favorite moments this year have been playing cat and mouse with other
Yeah.
players.
Well, good thing we have a
Deathloop.
category for best
We have
moments.
a category for that, so maybe
Yeah,
we'll talk more about that.
I'm just gonna, before we move on from Deathloop, just talk about why I think it's my runner-up. It's really the that kind of mess experience that you're talking about, Nick. Like having Juliana kind of appear in your game, you know she's there, and
Yeah.
just kind of like through combinations of like listening closely or like hearing what the other characters are kind of reacting to her in a sense. Like you get an idea where she is, and then maybe you die the first time and she kills you, and then you come back, but you know where she is, and you can kind of sneak around a different way. It really changed the way like Crispy said, like you approach these maps with a little bit more like flair, and like you're just going versus like in Dishonored, which I played recently. Like when you get caught, you kind of feel like, oh well, I'm probably gonna die because the combat in Dishonored was not something that you could like really kill to get your way out of.
Unless you're a crazy person.
The combat
Yeah.
in the Dishonored games is really just there's a really high bar to proper play for high chaos
Right.
in it.
Right. Yeah. So that's my runner up too. Chris, if you want to go to your runner up now.
My runner up is going to appear numerous times on tonight's show, but it is Road 96. It is. I think Nick even I understand he intends to play it soon, so I won't be explicit about what this game is. But suffice to say, it is a experience of trying to escape this country that is on the verge of kind of like a revolution, and it's you hitchhiking across the nation to get to the border, and it's almost a roguelite in a way, to where you get randomly generated characters, but you also retain like your progress and how you're influencing public opinion and things like that, and you're meeting all these interesting, fun characters that all kind of have at the end of the day some kind of connection to one another. Like this may sound obtuse to say, but I don't know if anyone here remembers the 2004-2005 film Crash. Yeah, this is like Crash kid-friendly edition. I know that sounds really fucking weird, but
it's just
like,
funny because yes, we all remember Crash.
I prefer the Cronenberg one.
I just say like all the
It's broken.
characters thematically play into one another, and they all have these different motivations that you really kind of
not
all
expect
appreciate.
that.
I know it's weird. It's really weird. But it works. I think this was a really fun experience. And Nick, I can't wait to watch you play this because
that's kind of why I volunteered to record footage for this game. So I gave myself an excuse to make sure I play it. So I will be trying it very soon.
Yeah. And like I said, my number one is Deathloop.
Wonderful. Ed, what's your number one?
My number one is Frame of Mind. It's a little indie game that came out at the beginning of the year. It is a little first-person puzzler. It takes approximately 30 minutes to play. It's free to play, and it's all about perspective and using that perspective to solve these little puzzles. And each room is very unique in terms of what you're trying to do. One of the rooms is like whichever way you look orients you to gravity, and you can use that to like basically walk on walls or walk under on ceilings and stuff like that. It is trippy as fuck, and the rooms are laid out with like I don't know if non-Euclidean geometry is the right way to put it, but it's such that like things are hidden in places that you wouldn't be able to see when you're looking in one direction, but if you look in a different direction, you can see things.
It's like Echochrome.
Yeah, I was gonna say like Echochrome.
Yeah, so
did you play Echochrome? Ed?
No.
So Echochrome was a puzzle game. Brad, what's that artist? MC Escher.
Yeah.
So it's all like the lines and stuff, and if you line it up a certain way, all of a sudden now your character can walk across a path that before was a huge gap. So it's all about how you see the world. And I'm looking at a trailer now, and I definitely get vibes of that from this.
Yeah, so super cool. Like I said, very short and just a little fun little romp. I finished in a night, and but it was just a cool, like, awesome gameplay experience for it.
Wonderful.
You always bring the
experiences we get to talk about on this one award. It's fantastic.
It's like the pedestrian of 2021.
Yeah, right?
Well, since it's free to play, I'm definitely going to add it to my my list.
Shit, how long was that first category?
Like 30 minutes. All right,
multiply that times 23.
Like you said, it starts to pick up steam, and we start to get as the pressure
12
builds.
hours or something.
That last category is like, oh, just say the game. Okay, let's move on.
Maybe we should start treating runner-ups like we were talking about honorable mentions, where no spiel.
I agree.
Two sentences.
Two sentences. Our next category is best sequel or most improved sequel.
Is it?
I numbered the categories.
That's what I got.
Yes.
That's
what
what
I
I'm
have as
at.
well.
Best
Okay.
sequel, most improved sequel.
Hang on.
Maybe I
let
should
me
have
find
actually
it.
named the
Maybe
overlays.
we should
Davis-
go
Yeah,
with
if
what
you would
Chris
have named the
Davis has.
overlays, that would have helped.
I mean, we can go with what's on the screen too. That's fine.
Oh,
That's
on
the
the
second category from our third group.
Oh shit. Yeah, let's not do that.
Let me. You know what? I'll just start scrolling, and we'll find out.
Brad doesn't
All right,
actually
well,
have
while
the
he's
list of
scrolling,
games.
Brad,
The list
your
of
best
awards is
sequel,
just the
most
list of
improved
games.
sequel.
Okay. My runners ups is Psychonauts 2.
Hey, that's
the
my
reason-
runner-up too.
Yeah, it would be my winner, but there's actually things about the first game I actually do prefer. But the reason I think it's my runner up is because the ways it improved specifically for me is one of the things I always wanted to do in the original is to like spend more time in the camp and explore that camp. And now you can do that because there's like big open environments outside of people's minds that you can explore and like
it's
meet people.
the whole
and,
thing with like the campsite in the first game. Yeah, like you said, it's very small, and there wasn't a lot to do. You go to the shop like 2 times. You can go to the parking lot and not do anything.
Yeah.
And so the actual the headquarters of the Psychonauts in 2, it's like there's so much to do there.
It's very expanded, and you can like go out to the crazy area and like talk to your family. It's really cool to explore that world. And I will say the combat and stuff is improved. It's still not like amazing to me, but they did improve, add more like depth to the combat, I think. So that's why it's my runner up. And my most improved
It
sequel
was 2
of the year-
sentences.
my most improved sequel of the year is Lost Judgment. Which is Judgment is that Yakuza spin-off game where you play as a detective. And this one, the problems with that one is it really got bogged down in all like the detective work mini games, and you were like telling people and doing stuff like that. But there's a little too much of it, and it wasn't really that developed. Now, like that stuff has been, 1, improved, and 2, there's just less of it. So it flows a lot better, and it gets less bogged down in some of the stuff from the first game that really wasn't all that good. And the combat's better than it's ever been in a Yakuza game. And it's not even in a Yakuza game, it's in the Yakuza spin-off. But this is where you get action combat now, because Yakuza is going to stay with the turn-based RPG battle system from Yakuza 7. But it's really good here. Like the way you can switch between combos on the fly, like you can combo like it's fucking Tekken. I can do an air juggle with 4 different combats like styles in the same combo. It just feels really cool.
This is how you know Brad is back. Tekken, the name Tekken has been dropped.
just overall, I enjoy it more. You have a skateboard. You can get around the city quick on your skateboard. You have all these like mini games because you join like 10 different school clubs, I think. It's just a really, really cool sequel. And while the first one might have been a little slow, a little dry in places, this one just feels a lot more exciting. So I highly recommend Lost Judgment.
Wonderful.
That's why it's my winner.
My runner-up in 2 sentences is Halo Infinite. I will say this. It's very much the same way you were talking about Monster Hunter Rise, in that this game now has one is open world, but you also now have a grappling hook that allows you to like zip all around the world, very, very much like Spider-Man. And I think
it's no wire bug, but I'll take it.
It had.
It's pretty fucking
Not only
good.
Not only did it make the world much more open and explorable, it made combat super awesome because you could like pull guns out of like enemies' hands. You could use it to propel yourself. Like, oh, I'm flying over enemies, like raining bullets down on them, just because I was able to propel myself over them by like grabbing onto a rock and like just positioning myself right. Like it just kind of changes it's a game changer for me as far as Halo goes. But my winner for best sequel, we say most improved sequel, so I like to think about what came before.
Or best sequel, either or.
Well, yeah,
best or most improved.
Right, but like I'm thinking of it right now in terms of like how it improved upon what came before. And my most improved sequel is Far Cry 6. Far Cry 5 had a lot of problems. And Far Cry 6 just gets back to, in almost every sense of the word, back to just being all about what's fun, what's colorful, what's just visually interesting, like just everything. And like they give you so many customization options in terms of like upgrading your weapons, and like you can throw all kinds of different like paint jobs on your weapons. They have all kinds of new crazy vehicles. You have like animal companions that are like just outrageous. Like you can have an alligator running around with you, like eating people. You have a
with
little
a gold
fucking
tooth.
What
you with a gold tooth.
cheeseburger wasn't outrageous?
I mean, sure, but like you have like multiple like animals like that you can choose from, and they all have different. You have the little wiener dog that's like a little crippled wiener dog, and he's in a little
Please, Nick.
what I
That's
mean
not.
what's the what? Shut up, Brad. But like he's so cute, and he goes out there and he like distracts enemies and stuff, and you can use him to like either distract enemies so you can go in guns a blazing, or you can use it to like distract enemies so you can go in stealthily. It's just there's so much
When I think fun
so
and
much going
breezy,
on in this game.
I also think Giancarlo Esposito.
Well, I'm not talking so much about that. I mean, I'm still not finished with this game.
That's what I was about to
quite
ask.
honestly. No. I'm like 40 hours into it.
Oh, God.
But it's just like, and it gets back to like kind of the roots of Far Cry in terms of like being all about these like beautiful tropical environments, and it's breathtaking to look at. It's super vertical. There's lots of wildlife. It's fun, man. It is a huge step forward for the franchise after Far Cry 5 was, and for all intents and purposes, a real letdown.
Well, we have
And
the time to get into whether Chris Davis should play this or not, right?
No, we don't.
No,
So
you don't.
moving right along, Nolan, what is your runner-up for most improved sequel or best sequel?
I already said it. Someone's not
Yeah.
listening.
Oh, sorry.
Psychonauts 2.
Oh, right. He didn't update the doc.
I was
Yeah,
busy
good job.
fixing all the
Chris Davis was
images.
not listening.
All right.
I was busy
Psychonauts
fixing the images,
2,
bitch.
We're gonna have a lot of that tonight.
My winner for best sequel, most improved sequel, is actually Hitman 3.
Ooh.
I really liked where they went with this game after Hitman 2. Don't get me wrong, I did enjoy Hitman 2. But I thought a lot of the levels in this were very unique. I feel like they're getting back to like kind of the Blood Money days of like, just very kind of unique scenarios that you're in. The whole like, Knives Out detective murder mystery thing in the second level. So many just kind of unique moments and scenarios. I know Brad has issues with this game, and I'm not claiming it to be perfect.
Some of the
gives you a lot
levels
of
truly are
hints.
brilliant, though, like Berlin, where you don't know who your target is.
Yes.
Stuff like that's really cool.
Yeah. So I thought there was a lot of really great stuff, and a lot of the things that Brad has issues with. And don't get me wrong, to an extent, I don't love that you could at any point in time just see your target, wherever they are on the map. You don't technically have to use them. So that being said, if you haven't tried Hitman 3, it's a lot of fun, and I really like that they still keep updating it, that they still have the elusive targets every few months or whatever, and like there's constantly new stuff to do in that game. And it's not even just that. Back in the day with like Hitman Blood Money, it was like, oh, defeat the target, right? You go and you find him. Oh, I can get a clown thing. I can do this. I like that this game kind of challenges you. And it's like, hey, do it. But now you load in here and you can't use these weapons and you have to do this. It kind of gives you all these limitations and restrictions that kind of force you to play the game in a unique way that maybe if I didn't try that manipulation, I would never do that. It's one of those things where like there are thousands of ways you can interact with the enemies and everything in this world, and when I like play it, I always get tunnel vision, and I just do the one thing, and I'm gonna do this, and then I'm gonna kill him, and I'm gonna leave. But then when you start playing it with the multiple, like the kind of like modifiers on, it really kind of gets you out of your comfort zone and helps you to explore the world in a different way. And I think, like I said, it just makes those games so much more replayable.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Crispy.
Oh!
Do you have a runner-up?
For best most improved sequel, I'm gonna give my runner-up to Monster Hunter Rise for largely a lot of the same reasons that we talked about before. I think it takes what was already an amazing, solid gameplay loop and iterates on it and adds to it in smart ways. No
They made
notes.
Gyrototus better.
Yeah, and they made Gyrototus better. So I mean, it's just like awesome. It's cool. It's very cool. Very cool. My winner is I'm actually going to give to Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach.
Oh,
Just because it is, I mean, okay, the game is buggy as hell, okay, and that has been, an issue. But other than that, like, it takes what was already like something really popular and just like completely changes its entire like genre almost, and makes a completely different new game out of it. And kind of like plays with a lot of the ideas of the original series and kind of inverts them in really smart, interesting, fun ways. The Five Nights at Freddy's isn't even a series I'm like that interested in, but like just seeing something change so dramatically and still be successful and like still find success and still kind of maintain its identity is really impressive. So
I
that
did, I did
is
start that game. It definitely is the Five Nights at Freddy games that I would be most interested in playing for sure. I played like 2 or 3 hours of it on the stream.
yeah.
Really cool moment, like really cool like boss encounters too. Like the one in like the playground area or like the
Yeah, and
daycare
it
area is so cool.
it does a pretty good job of changing up like what you're doing at any given point in the game,
Yeah.
so it's not just like a single loop that you're kind of repeating over and over again, um, which is weird for a game in a series where you're literally just kind of like sitting in a room and like looking at different things,
Yeah.
um,
It's
yeah,
definitely
I don't
not
know.
that game is definitely more than what it used to be for sure.
Yeah.
More than Night
Uh,
Trap.
Chris Davis, what's your runner up?
Well, actually, both my runner-up and winner were already mentioned, but my runner-up is Hitman 3.
Mm.
I have been kind of in love with this new run of Hitman, and I loved, the 2016, the 2018 sequel. This one, like it, as Nolan was saying, like they hit their stride in their level design and their objectives and just everything you can possibly do, and just the support has been really fucking cool.
Mhm.
Like we were discussing, Apex Predator, the level set at the nightclub in Berlin was kind of incredible to me. I that is my most play level probably of the entire trilogy. Just going through and figuring out all these different ways, take out all the different targets, and figure out how to do everything. And I am so excited for the DLC that's on the way. We've got a new island map coming. Sounds really cool. And I've wanted to try out like the Seven Deadly Sins kind of map variant DLC that they've done.
The
Just sounds
Seven
so
Deadly
cool.
Sin stuff's pretty cool.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
I won't. I've not played nearly as much of it as I would like. But yeah, everything that I have played is
All right. So
And my winner
Winner?
is Halo Infinite.
aha.
I put a lot of time playing Halo 5 multiplayer and playing through the campaign and having fun there. I think Halo 5 is a better game than a lot of people give it credit for. But Halo Infinite, I played through all the way through that campaign. I am waiting for them to patch in the ability to go back and play previous missions. I want to play through this campaign 4 or 5 times, and I have probably
Hmm.
put 150 hours into the multiplayer alone.
Of
It's
Infinite?
just yeah. It
Jesus.
has
Wow.
just been so it has been my go-to. Like, I don't want to do anything for the rest of the evening. Oh, I can just go work on my battle pass in Halo, and that's what I
mean,
do.
the very little that I played, it was pretty fun. But you know me in multiplayer games. But yeah, it was a good
Well,
time.
maybe we'll
Pretty
have an
cool.
award later where you can elaborate.
Maybe we
Definitely,
will.
yeah.
Maybe we will. Ed, what's your runner up for most for
Uh,
best?
My
Best sequel?
runner-up is Halo Infinite. I will say that I did not enjoy the campaign as much as Chris Davis sounds like he did. But what I did enjoy was the stuff that Nick mentioned already: the traversal mechanics, the fobs, being able to just like eventually unlock vehicles just by like going out and doing things around the world. You get the like points that allow you to unlock vehicles, and then you get like the rocket hog was like one of my favorite. Not the rocket hog, the rocket little like moped thing was like one of my favorite things to just like zoom around and shoot rockets and stuff like that. So really shooting's still good. I think it's I think it's like a build up to a better story than what Halo 5 was, which is why I think it's like most improved. But at the same time, it didn't like I felt like it didn't deliver on any of the story beats that I would have wanted. So
I
The
absolutely
story
agree.
does feel the story does. I like the story, but it does feel a bit like a prologue to
yeah, it's like a
bigger
self-contained
story.
prologue to whatever comes next, and I'm tired of like all Halo games feeling like that. It's just
But
like
like
this is a setup for what comes next, because that's
I
what I
mean,
felt like Halo 5 was. It was like, oh well, at Halo 6 or whatever, we'll bring the fight to Cortana, and then like the next game is none of that basically.
yeah.
So anyway, my
You're,
my my winner is Metroid Dread. I
mm,
think there's a lot of like really good things that it does as part of this game, and I will preface all this by saying I have only ever played Metroid Prime 3 Corruption and this year Super Metroid, and I'm like working through Zero Mission now.
Are you
So like
kidding me?
I'm not kidding you.
Those are
So
the
my
only two
experience-
I have
I'm in.
played.
Okay.
oh wow.
Whoa, you two are like
Metroid Prime?
soulmates.
We're like the same person. Chris.
Literally,
Uh,
I borrowed Corruption when it first came out from my roommate, and then this past year in September, I played through Super Metroid for the first time.
yeah.
Well,
I
That's
pretty
so
much
weird.
played through it.
I'm
to
the
lead up to
same, except Metroid Prime 1 instead of 3. But
Yeah.
same boat here.
So I played through Super Metroid to lead up to Metroid Dread, and I really like it. Obviously, it's a great game. I do think the like jumping off the walls mechanic or whatever in Super Metroid is like super annoying and like irritating, especially to play.
yeah.
Especially to play on like my little shitty little Joy-Con, and this game, and now I've started to play Samus Returns as well. Like the jumping off wall mechanic is like infinitely better, right? And
Okay,
so
good.
like all of that to be said, that I think it is a great little game packaged together, and it's like brings me back to like old school games where they weren't like 20 hours or 30 hours long. It's like a nice little compact 10-hour experience, and I really appreciate that about the game.
Yep, I think that game's gonna come up a few more times tonight as well. So yeah, I
Nothing's
do.
as bad as that Jaeger. Sorry.
Wait, what did Jaeger say? Okay, sorry. Next category. Oh, by the way, Chris Davis. I think the reason the numbers got confusing last time is because I numbered them like 1, 2, 3, 4, but there's also like 21, 22, 20. You know what I mean?
Oh,
So
that's
I think,
what happened. I fixed
think
it, so it's good.
Okay, cool. So, assuming everything is correct, the next award is Best Game Feel.
Yes.
Wonderful. All right, Best Game Feel. So this is
My-
the best game, the game that feels the best to play, to hold the controller and whatnot in your hands. Go ahead.
My runner-up is a little outside the box.
That's not
It's
that all right.
Unpacking, a game where you're just
Ah.
unpacking
Oh, God.
boxes and putting them on shelves and desks and tables and stuff. But they really nailed somehow they nailed like what it feels to like
The
you know,
vibe, right?
open
Just
up open a box. Everything's real clicky and sticks to
Like,
places real
so,
nice, and it's fun to
like-
flip them around.
I wish this game had dual sense.
Yeah,
You know
yeah,
what I'm
but-
saying? Like if this game, because they already the sound effects are already super satisfying, and
Yeah.
you really. But if this game was on the PS5 with DualSense, oh my god, it would be
like
amazing.
the way you like put books and then they kind of snap to and you can like drag them and like put them in order. They just really spent a lot of time refining what it feels like to move objects around and place them, and that whole audio visual experience contributes to like the game feel, and it just feels really nice to play. It's one of the most zen games I played this year because of it, I think. But my winner for game feel, I can't deny it. As much as I hate Mercury Steam, I think Metroid Dread is one of the best feeling games I played this year.
Wow.
Wow.
I did not expect this.
Brad's been
Look,
converted.
you didn't say it was my favorite fucking game of the year. I'm just saying it feels really nice to move Samus around.
He said
like,
something nice about Metroid Dread.
it's fast, it's smooth. You're like sliding under stuff while running out from Emmys and shit,
Are we
and,
sure
like
this
the
is Brad?
counter feels better than ever.
Crispy, I think it's less about him saying something nice about Metroid Dread. There's plenty nice to say about Metroid Dread. He said something nice about Mercury Steam.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, wait,
So-
wait.
Tells
No.
you what kind of year 2021 was.
I didn't say something nice about
Metroid
Mercury
Dread
Steam.
is my winner.
You
as
said they
well.
made a game that felt good.
Metroid. So
Of them
Metroid
and
Dread's my winner
Nintendo.
as well for all the same reasons that we already highlighted and Brad highlighted there. It
It's
feels really good to control for sure.
But yeah, that's my
fantastic.
winner, Metroid Dread. It's the only award you're getting from me. Fuck you.
All right, my runner-up for best game feel is Returnal. Man,
That's a
zipping
good one.
around in Returnal is just it's like it's kind of it feels good. Like like Hades was maybe the first like roguelite or roguelike game that I've really sunk hours into, and that game felt really nice to play as well. And this is a little bit different because you're obviously you're shooting, but like you're zipping around this environment and you're shooting these aliens, and but at the same time, even though you're moving around this big kind of like 3D open environment, it's straight up a bullet hell game. Like these aliens are shooting these like crazy bubble attacks all over the place, and you're jumping and using your jetpack and zipping all around and switching through your weapons, and like and it's all obviously you have the level of randomization that comes with like opening a chest and figuring out what you're gonna get, and like man, just the feeling of not it's just the feeling when you open a chest and you're not sure what you're gonna get is just so good. And then when you're in the midst of combat from one run to the next, no matter what gun you have, for like the different guns force you to approach combat in completely different ways. And man, that game just I thought it was gonna be kind of clunky or it was gonna feel kind of like sluggish. Not at all. That game is just firing on all cylinders at all times. It feels so good. But my winner goes to Monster Hunter Rise. I've never played a Monster Hunter game before. This is my first one, and played it for what 60 something hours, 70 hours. And this is got some multiplayer in with some fellas this year, and that was a lot of fun. But man, just the feeling of running around and using the wire bug to explore vertically, and man, and I had just never experienced what it was like to fight a monster in a Monster Hunter game. So
It feels
trying to
real
kind of like
good.
it's just no matter which weapon you end up getting really good with. Like I think the insect glaive ended up being my preference.
Well, we can all
Um,
agree that greatsword feels the best, though. I
oh,
mean,
here we go.
Great
but
sword is
man,
the
there's just so much room for uh like just diversity in terms of like how you approach combat, and no matter which one you choose, it all feels nice, but it just forces you to approach combat in different ways. And I mean, all of this stuff is pretty obvious to anyone who's played a Monster Hunter game, but when you add in the wire bug, man,
oh god, wire
and
bug
and and the,
recovery feels so good. You just
and the
make bad
paddling,
decisions all the time, like wire bugging back into a Nargacuga while he's in the middle of his second swipe.
yeah, dude.
yeah,
It just feels
it's
good.
it's a
Dude.
damn good feeling game. Nolan, what's your runner up?
My runner-up for best game feel is actually going to go to Knockout City,
Mm.
Oh,
a multiplayer dodgeball game that we played pretty early in the year.
Yeah.
But it was super satisfying. Getting the counters and getting the different abilities. Not just throwing a dodgeball, but throwing your teammate as if they were a ball and now you're
oh, I
directing
forgot
him.
about that.
Just I was super satisfied with like whenever you land a hit or when you get like a really good combo going on, especially when you and your teammates get in sync and y'all get something to go and all of a sudden bam, you're taking out the other team. Very, very satisfying feeling when that game's clicking. But my winner for best game feel is actually Bowser's Fury.
Yes.
The little expansion, whatever you want to call it, they put out for when they released
It's a
3D
game.
World.
It's a full fucking
No,
game,
it
pretty much.
definitely is a game. Like I agree, and it is a fantastic game. And it's one of those things where we kind of already mentioned a little bit about like I think we said something about Nintendo earlier, but it's like one of those things where they just fucking nail Mario. Like the feel of everything is always so tight. Like it is enjoyable to play because when I tell Mario to do something, I know exactly what he's going to do. I know how it's going to go. It's never like a surprise. Um, and I had a whole lot of fun playing that one, especially because Bernadette was playing it with me as Bowser Jr., helping out and either stunning enemies or what have you. That kind of just made it even more of kind of turned a single player experience into multiplayer. But yeah.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Then I guess Crispy, what's your runner up?
Oh boy, best
If
game
you have one.
feel runner up. I do. My runner up is going to Halo Infinite just because it reminds me more of like the old Bungie days of Halo. Um,
Combat feels
Halo's always
good.
Halo's always felt good. I feel like the running and gunning, the using vehicles, like all of that has always been very like I don't I don't know. Maybe it's just because I fell in love with the game during like a developmental period in my life, but like that has always been just awesome to me. And I feel like Halo Infinite captured that really well. So runner up. My winner though, I'm gonna give, of course, to Monster Hunter Rise for everything we've been talking about with that game so far. It just is a fucking delight. And personally, I'm a guy who likes to use the greatsword. Greatsword is a wonderful weapon. It's also incredibly sluggish, and that took a great deal of like getting used to when I first started playing the game. But with the wire bug, it's like it doesn't even fucking matter anymore. Like you just be where you want to be and
The
swinging your
wire bug
sword.
sheath is so good.
The wire, yeah, he has a whole wire bug move for greatsword that's just you put it away really quickly. Like it's mind blowing, insanity. It's insanity. I don't know.
I did not know that. It's a real testament to this game that like so many of the weapons are like big hulking like
I mean,
heavy thing, but
Hammer
like
fill.
but
So good.
yeah,
but
yeah.
they feel so good to like people in chat, like even when we're just talking about it, talking about our preferences, people are like, well, it's
Dude,
clearly
like
this one, and it's like I didn't even touch that weapon. And
Like you pick up
it's
something
cool.
like the gun lance and it feels so unwieldy at first, and then you get out there and you finally like land your combo and like follow up with a wyvern strike or some shit like that, and it's just like that was awesome. Like that was
Smash.
great. That was so good. Like
So
I love
goddamn
that
good.
game so fucking much. I'm so glad I double dipped and got it on PC.
Yeah, me too.
Chris Davis, what's your runner up?
My runner-up is going to get some eye rolls from Brad. Some serious, like he may have to go to the hospital because I'm listening to this game.
Oh,
Oh
God.
no.
But I am giving it to
Words, Chris
Record
Davis.
of
Use the word.
Lotus Ward, D-Lit and Wonder Labyrinth.
I mean, I didn't even play that. So
Well-
I'm not rolling my eyes.
Well,
I didn't even know there was a record of Lodos War game.
well, there
I think
is.
there's several.
It's
Yeah.
it was in early access for quite a while, and it finally entered 1.0 state. I think December. No, it July, and then it came out on consoles. And that's when I played it, and it's a very directed Metroidvania. You've got that kind of classic large Metroidvania map style, but it feels more linear in where it tells you to go. But there is still that aspect of, oh, I'm unlocking new weapons, I'm unlocking keys to open doors and things like that. I'm exploring the map more and I'm finding more secrets.
I remember this game. This is the game that Chris Davis was like, this might feel better than Hollow Knight or something like that. Am I remembering this correctly?
I didn't say Hollow Knight, but I said
He's
something.
not denying it.
I'm
He's
not.
not denying
I'm
it.
not. I was trying to tell you to play something. I just don't remember, or deterring you from playing something. I don't remember what it was. But the cool thing is the combat here, because it's got that traditional kind of Metroidvania, Castlevania, hack and slash combat, but it's also got these magic abilities that really really remind me of Ikaruga with the polarity abilities, where you're absorbing the same color and dealing out double damage using the opposite color. And so you've got basically wind and fire magic that you alternate, and you power up by collecting and killing enemies and collecting their powers. And so it gets to a point to where you get hit, but you can switch to the other ability, and you're healing while you're doing double damage. But you're also building up your power for the other ability, and it keeps switching back and forth. And you got to see it and play it to really understand it, but it becomes really really fun.
All right.
So yeah, that's
Let's
my-
not forget 2 sentences.
Well,
This is gonna be hard for all of us to wrap our head around.
well this is
that was your runner up.
this is not this wasn't a game that could be summed up in 2 sentences, I think, because I was the only one that's really played it.
Fair enough.
But my winner, once again, Halo Infinite. They just got that right. They got the Halo formula right here. The combination of that 30 seconds of fun and bringing back in Halo 3's kind of equipment to create a whole new mode of traversal, that open world that is
Let's
there.
not lie, too. This is the first Halo game with good weapons. Am I right?
Y'all are all full of
How dare
shit.
you?
Look, y'all are gonna talk about Halo all night. You're like talking around the
But he
fact
had
that
the
it
gun.
plays good, it feels good, it is good because they added a grappling hook.
It
Look, we're
feels.
talking about game feel. Mention the grappling hook. You don't have to deny it, Chris Davis.
I'm not denying it. The grappling hook is probably the best part of this fucking game.
It
It
is.
is. It
No,
is
no, no,
amazing.
Here, what I like to say about this is that in a Halo game, they give you all these vehicles, and I've never felt less compelled to use vehicles in Halo because that grappling hook was so good and so fun to use. I almost never got into like a warthog or anything. Like I was just like, fuck this, I'm gonna just be zipping around the world like Spider-Man, and that's cool with me.
I do understand.
I did like
yeah.
the gear unlocks that you're talking about, Chris, from Halo 3. Like the drop shield in front of you and the sensor,
yeah.
like that. There's kind of cool little add-on
Yeah.
things.
They
Except
were-
I always used the wrong one. I did when I was playing on PC. I couldn't I always forgot which button was supposed to. I was supposed to press.
controls
To
are
switch
Yeah,
it.
the controls
Yeah.
were less intuitive in figuring out exactly which one you have equipped and whether you're actually firing the correct one that you want to.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's fun.
What's your winner?
Uh,
Oh wait, that was your winner.
That was
That was your winner. So we actually already know Ed's winner. So what's your runner-up, Ed?
My runner-up, and I'm taking a very literal scent or take from Best Game Feel. Outer Wilds Echo of the Eye made me feel things that I haven't felt since I played that first game. If you guys know the scene from Interstellar where Matthew McConaughey looks at the screen and he starts crying because he sees a video, when I booted up the game and it started playing the intro music, the menu music again, I started tearing up. I mean, like, I don't think you guys understand how
Dang.
much of a emotional impact that game had on me, and to go back into that, experience that game again. Remember, I said that I lost my save, so I played through it all again.
Oh wow, I forgot about
And
that.
to go through that again, and then also they nailed what made that first game the original game so great. The expansion just does all of the same greatness with a little horror twist. So it's definitely something that I gave me the best feeling experience of the year.
That original game was one of our collective favorite games
Yep.
of 20. Was it 2020 or 2019?
One of the 2019, yeah, one of the
FO
best
game
made
of the year.
best games of all time.
It's
I
very
agree.
good. You know what? Maybe I should have been doing this beforehand. Before we move on to the next category, I just want to quickly recap the winners that we had. So, Metroid Dread, Monster Hunter Rise, Bowser's Fury, Halo Infinite. Those, I guess, we had multiple votes for Metroid Dread and Monster Hunter Rise, but those are the 4 games that came up in the best game feel category. So our last
Honorable mention to XO1. If y'all have never played that, XO1 feels really cool to play.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
XO1. I'm not even sure what that is, to be totally honest. I want to give an honorable mention to Metroid Dread as well, and I'm really glad that no one brought up Bowser's Fury. Not only that, but also because it's like the first time one of the first. It felt like Mario was going open world a little bit, and it was cool to kind of see that,
This is an honorable mention, Nick.
textualized. Yeah, sorry.
No
sorry.
sentences. No sentences.
I'll give an
Our
honorable
last-
mention to Unsighted for best game feel as well.
Yes. I don't
I'll
know
talk
why
about
I
it more
didn't think
later.
about that. Though, yeah, that I just finished playing that 2 nights ago. That game feels amazing. All right. Our last category of this first segment is going to be most addictive game of 2021. So, Brad, what is your runner-up?
I feel like this is pretty easy. My runner-up, Monster Hunter Rise. I mean, it should be my winner. It's a Monster
Mine
Hunter
too.
game. I played this game for like 300 hours. It's very addictive in all the ways. I've talked about Monster Hunter before. Very addictive.
It's also
but-
my runner-up. It's very addictive.
But my winner this year for most addictive is Loop Hero, which
Hey,
is
that's my winner
incredibly
too.
incredibly addictive indie game. It's definitely a one more run kind of game because
Oh,
every run
for
you go
sure.
on, you're unlocking shit, and you
But it's
want
not
to just
even
get back
necessarily
out
one
there.
more run; it's one more loop, even.
One more
Because it's
loop, right?
definitely there's certain times when you're like, I should really stop,
Yeah,
but
it's hard.
things are going super well. I'll do one more. Do one more.
They can't touch my necromancer, and then you're
What do
just
you mean it's 6 in the morning?
oh my
Yeah.
god!
Oh.
I gotta say though, the one more loop thing is so dangerous in that game. I got
Very
fucked
much.
over so many
It's
times.
it's a situation of like I literally could leave now with 100% of my loot, or I could leave with 30% of it.
Yeah,
It's one
or I
small
could eat shit halfway through this next loop.
That sounds
and so
terrifying.
you know it is, but it's also so addictive because, like Brett said, like when you have a good setup and you're like, oh, nothing can stop me, everything's perfect. But then all of a sudden you start that next loop and certain stuff starts happening. You're like, oh fuck, well fuck. You see it happening up ahead, and you're like, oh god, but you've already
Yeah,
committed.
blades of grass. They're so fucked.
All right,
So yeah, that's my winner, Loop Hero. Go ahead.
my runner-up is Unsighted, which Ed just brought up at the tail end of that last category. Really cool little, Zelda clone is probably a word that's going to get thrown around a lot describing this game, but also it throws in the time management mechanic where everybody in the world is slowly running out of time, and you get materials that you can either use to boost your own time or hand it over to other people to allow them to survive. Those other people actually run the shops and stuff that sell you the things in the world that you need to progress as a character. So it really comes down to like making some really tough choices. And some of those, I learned some really hard lessons playing this game, which I might talk about later. But yeah, man, Unsighted, and not only that, but Unsighted just feels really nice to control. Like combat feels great. The weapons feel fantastic.
Nick, you're supposed to be talking about why it's addictive. Damn it.
I mean, that is why it's addictive. Like it's
Sure.
it's just I couldn't. It's one of the few games I played this year that I literally couldn't put it down once I started playing.
Yeah.
I blew through it in a couple
Yep.
in like 4 or 5 days because it's just so easy to keep going when you start playing.
Like as soon as you get started, you're in it and you're going, and the whole time you have like very obvious goals in mind, so you just keep going, keep
Yeah,
going, keep going. It's
exactly.
great. Yeah.
Which I'm really glad Ed brought it up for best game feel because I totally could have brought it up there as well. But my winner this year goes to Returnal. That game is hard as fuck, but I could not put it down because it feels so snappy and so intense and just like and when you kill one of those alien things and they explode into like alien jelly or whatever, it just feels so good. And then you're absorbing all of like the little like the experience things, and it's just it's so hard to put down, and it has a really interesting like narrative hook too that kind of pulls you through it. It's like this weird combination of like science fiction and horror. It actually reminded me a little bit like vibe wise of like Event Horizon or something, but with like the added hook of like being a roguelike on top of it. And as you progress, like you fight these insanely hard bosses, and unlike Hades where you fight a hard boss, then you level up and you have to go through it, and you have to like a full run would be like you had to beat all 4 of the bosses. When you beat a boss, it's kind of like, okay, I've now made it this far. I still have to go through that section again on my next run, but I won't have to fight that boss again. Unless you want to. If you want to fight the boss again, you can use it to like get additional resources and stuff. But like
Yeah.
it's kind of like what Ed was saying with Unsighted, where you get into a rhythm and you have very identifiable goals. And once you start moving through a run, it's hard to put the controller down. And not to mention like I mean, a lot of people brought it up because the runs were like really long. Like a solid run in Returnal is like 45 minutes. But I think it speaks to
45 minutes or
I mean
3
And you couldn't,
hours.
and when it
Yeah,
first came out, you couldn't save like in the middle of your run, right?
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, I beat the whole game before they implemented that. And even then, they didn't like the thing they patched in wasn't straight up like a save feature. I don't think it was like a one time.
Yeah, it was
You
like a
can
quick
put
save.
it. Yeah.
Right. Quick save
Um,
goes to menu, and then you can only restart from there.
I will
So-
say, I find it incredibly charming, Nick, that this is your second roguelike. And because of that, every time you mention Returnal, you also mention Hades, and you're like, wow, roguelikes feel amazing, and they have
No,
these
I mean, you're absolutely.
narratives, and man, roguelikes. But
It's my only frame of reference.
it's like somebody played Mortal Kombat and it also played Street Fighter, and it's the only two fighting games they've ever played. But
It's the Boss
Well,
Baby tweet.
the boss baby tweet.
I went from someone who had no interest really in the concept of roguelikes to being suddenly kind of smitten by them. Like I can't, like now I'm like, yes, roguelikes, please, more, thank you.
Well, there's
That's-
plenty
I
of
don't
them
know.
out there for you, Nick.
Yeah.
I know. It's and we've had two really really good ones, but also two games that are like really really good in for kind of different reasons. Like, Hades was great, but it was not like the same level of like difficulty and challenge as Returnal. But like, I don't know,
We've
man.
been
It's
we
it's so good. It's so fucking good. Anyways, that's my winner. Nolan, what's your runner up?
My runner-up is Subnautica Below Zero.
Oh.
More identifiable goals,
super-
hard to put down.
I almost
Dude,
put this on there too. Yeah.
It's so addictive because, similar to Loop Hero, when it's like, oh, I just want to do one more loop. It's like, oh, I'm only this many resources away from
Yeah.
being able to craft this new thing. But as soon as I get those, oh, now I'm so close to this. And it's so hard and it's so easy to lose track of time playing that game, because it's like, oh, I remember seeing, a bunch of metal scrap over here, or I know there's this place where I can get this stuff. And it's just like this constant, like your base is never big enough. You don't ever have enough storage lockers. You don't ever have enough add-ons for your tank, your little like sea truck.
Right.
There's always something more for you to do. Something, and it is just like the world. And then as soon as you kind of get that, all of a sudden, like, a new kind of main story thing opens up, and you kind of get access, or not access, but at least you find a new area. It's
so
just,
good.
oh man, it's so much fun.
yeah,
And
Robin
so much fun
actually
playing it.
Robin asked for Subnautica on Switch for Christmas,
Mhm.
and I got her. I didn't realize it was a double pack, so now she has both, and
Nice.
she's played
Nice.
like 90
There you
hours
go.
of Subnautica
Yeah.
1 already.
Yeah, like that. The only reason I didn't put it on Most Addictive is because there were parts where the addiction like waned for me, where I was like
Sure.
feeling very much in a drought. Versus that 1st game where it was just like the whole time I was just like, I'm going, I'm on this train, and there's no leaving it.
I think
Below
it's 'cause
Zero
it's-
definitely like ebbs and flows.
Yeah,
I mean, I think it's also a byproduct of it just being more Subnautica. You know what I mean? Like, it's
sure.
like Subnautica when we played it was so fresh. Now it's like, okay, this is still really good, but it is
Sure.
pretty similar. It's very familiar.
Mhm.
What's your winner? All right, you said you said Loop Heroes.
Loop Hero, correct, is my winner. We already talked a lot about that and why it's addictive, and it's fantastic. And if you have not played it, I would definitely recommend it.
All right, Crispy, you said your runner up is Monster Hunter Rise, but what is your winner?
My winner for whatever category this is most addictive is Final Fantasy 14 Endwalker, because I
yeah, no
played
shock
No.
there.
a
Would you play
lot
this,
of
Crispy?
that. I did play some of it. Played a little bit. It was alright.
There is a reason Crispy only played 9 games this year, and this is
I
it.
mean, it's no Realm Reborn. Let's be real. No,
You mean the
was
least addictive game of the year? A Realm
Yeah.
Reborn?
A Realm Reborn, the most repulsive game of the year.
Oh, we'll get to that.
Yeah, dude. Endwalker was like a fucking experience, man. It was a moment. I'm so like I'm such like an emotional hostage of this game now that it's just like it's like every cutscene I'm just like, oh my god, it's so beautiful. Like
Brad,
it's
I know you're an
fucking
MMO player
crazy.
now.
Oh, we'll
Brad-
talk about it later.
Yeah.
Just want to know if you beat
Crispy, you have no
Endwalker yet.
idea how hard it is for me to resist playing this game.
Uh-huh.
It takes every fiber of my
I
being
will tell
to
you.
not
I will.
play
It is.
we'll
I
talk about it.
understand. It is a huge investment. It's a huge commitment. It's like changing religions or something. You know. It's like oh man. I don't
The
know.
difference is,
No,
Crispy,
but-
it's a religion I want to be
But-
in.
But I will say that if you decide to jump in, it will not disappoint you. Like it,
No, I know it won't. I
it
know
will
it's-
respect you.
it's
Salvation
gonna be-
is at hand.
It's gonna be like me just I'm gonna just shoot up some heroin. Let me go for it.
Oh
That's
yeah,
what I'm
and
gonna
the
do.
heroin is fucking good, man.
I know, and that's why I will not let myself play it. I will
I'm
not.
telling you.
And
That-
now
that
Nick
heroin
has to put a
only
content
once.
warning at the top, the front of the episode.
Nolan,
The-
just hang on a
Sorry.
little bit longer. Final
The
Fantasy
drugs
16, when
are
that comes
fun.
out, it'll scratch the itch, and you won't feel the
No, those are
pull.
very different.
They're
types of
very
video
different
games.
games. They're very different,
Oh
and
my god.
I will not. Like people in chat are saying do it, but no, I will not because it is
Jaeger's in
something.
chat.
You know,
Jaeger's
I-
in chat
I-
screaming at
I
his monitor
played,
saying, "Fucking do it."
yeah, I played just barely over 20 games this year. A lot of those less than a couple hours. That list would probably be similar to Crispy's at like 9 games if I was playing Final Fantasy 14. I know it. I know.
What you're saying
I'm
is
addicted to that
let
style
Crispy
of
be a-
game.
Let Crispy
Mhm.
and Final Fantasy 14 be a warning to you.
Yeah, basically.
Okay, Chris Davis, what is your runner-up?
Okay, my runner-up is a game I'm kind of surprised hasn't been brought up by anybody just yet.
Oh, we
but
got
it's
The
48
night
more
is young.
categories. So
it's actually Resident Evil Village.
Oh, trust me, it'll come up again tonight.
Okay, well, I expect it to. I'm just kind of surprised it didn't show up until now. You guys know my history with Resident Evil 7. I don't think Resident Evil 7 is as good as it could have been. I think 8 is
Oh,
largely a
history.
strong improvement in all the right ways. But I really enjoyed like the overall campaign experience, so much so, especially since they did Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3 remakes, they kind of just like figured out how to do like the new game plus experience right with these games. And they did that with Village. And I played through on normal, hard, and Village of Shadows mode, unlocking
Ooh, damn.
content and trying out new things and just exploring. And I had a lot of fun. So yeah, I definitely think that's my runner up. And my winner, once again, is Halo Infinite. 150 hours
150 hours,
multiplayer at
baby.
least. I think it's 150 hours. I don't actually know, but
The last time I checked,
it's
it was
probably an
150 hours ago.
it's not a socially acceptable number, probably.
I mean, you did play 800 hours of The Division. I think this is child's play.
Over the
But-
course of like 4 years, man.
Okay, I guess 150 hours, and this game has only been out a little over 2 months.
Yes.
That's
Damn.
something.
All right, Ed,
Yeah.
what's
So
your runner-up?
there are 2 games that I played right at the end of the year based on a number of recommendations going around that were both immediately addictive to me. The first one which is my runner-up, was Incited. For all
Yeah.
the reasons that we mentioned before. Immediately dove into it. It felt like putting on a nice, comfortable pair of pants that I've played since I've played so many Zelda games. I knew what I was in for. I knew
we
what I
have
was going
comfortable
for.
pair of pants award. We literally have an award for everything.
And my winner for this category is Inscription.
Yeah.
Also another one where I picked it up, started playing it, got really into it, was really into the death cards, was
Yeah.
really into the gameplay,
It was
and just like
death cards.
the loop just kept going and going and going. And I have more stuff to talk about Inscription later on tonight, so
Ditto.
stay tuned.
That's why this one's an honorable mention for me. But yes, Inscription.
I
Perfect.
also
So
have an
good.
honorable mention for the Demon Souls remake. It came out last year, but I played, or 2 years ago, but I played it this year since I got the PS5 finally. And that was one that I just like was in for a while until I platinumed it, and I just
That
was
is-
playing nothing but.
I
I
had
played
that
it.
list. I had that list of games that I'm currently playing, and
Yeah.
as I acknowledge in my head that I'm not going back to stuff, I like take it off. I move it off of the list.
I
I have
have a
left Demon
confession.
Souls remake on the list. since it
I have a
came out.
confession for Demon Souls remake. I played it during the Texas winter storm when we were supposed to be conserving power.
son of a bitch.
That's another
That's
fun.
Whoa.
Damn.
I'm
that's
gonna
it.
remember that in 3 weeks when you're freezing to death.
It's almost time, isn't it?
I'm over here with no powers for 80 hours. It's literally 45 degrees in my house. Not a joke. Literally 45 degrees in
and-
my house, and Ed's over here playing Demon Souls.
Ed's like, you don't understand. I can't stop. I mean, it is most addictive. I think that does speak
Yeah.
to the
You
concept.
can't go
of
anywhere.
doing
It's so boring.
it.
End our
Anyways,
first segment.
end of our first segment, our last category, Most Addictive. The winners were 2 votes for Loop Hero. We got Returnal, Final Fantasy XIV Endwalker, Halo Infinite, and Inscription. A nice spread there as well. That's going to do it for our first segment, guys. When we come back from the break, or for audio listeners on tomorrow's episode, if you're listening to this, we are going to be doing Best Multiplayer Experience, Best Comfort Food. I guess that's going to be the comfortable pair of pants award Brad was referring to. Our Most Out of Comfort Zone game.
Leather pants.
And leather pants. And Best Game Nobody Played. So if you're watching us live, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. And if you're listening at home on the audio, download the next episode.
During the break, we will feature somebody's favorite soundtrack of the year.
Brad, why don't we start with you? Introduce your soundtrack.
Okay, my soundtrack of the year is from The Great Ace Attorney. If you've ever played The Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, if you've ever played any game in this series, you know that it has incredible music. And there's a couple tracks. I picked a couple of character themes because, you know, everything's really good. So sit back and listen.
All right, we'll be right back. Back, guys. If you're listening at home, we are in the second segment, part 2 of our 2021 award show. We're going to jump right into it. We're moving right along. The categories we are going to cover on this segment are going to be Best Multiplayer Experience, Best Comfort Food, Most Out of Our Comfort Zone Game. It's not a really elegant way to say that, I suppose. And Best Game Nobody Played. So, our first category, Brad, you're up first. Best Multiplayer Experience.
Pretty simple, straightforward, because I don't play too many of these. My runner-up is Monster Hunter Rise. Monster Hunter, great multiplayer thing. It would be my winner if it wasn't for the fact that with 4 players on a Switch, it looked kind of a mess. So I always played with like 2 people, no one was allowed to bring their Palamutes, which was a rule you just sort of had to implement. But my winner is It Takes Two. It was designed to be a multiplayer game, and I played it with my wife, and it's absolutely amazing at being a multiplayer experience. I love it.
That is also my winner, and I think
is also my winner.
Anybody else? I feel like we're playing Wheel of Fortune. We're waiting for them to like turn over the anybody else?
Yeah, me too as well. It's my winner as well.
I had a feeling.
Yeah.
Damn, look at that.
And if it's not, I guess you didn't play it.
You know what? Yeah, let me just
I
say
played it and it's bad.
With all due respect, fuck the Oscars.
Yeah, fuck the Oscars.
But seriously, fuck the Oscars. But yeah, It Takes Two.
I didn't play
I mean, I don't know. Since this was your category, you lead.
Lead with what?
The discussion.
Yeah, no, we talked a little bit about it. It's just every 15 minutes you're moving on to some other brilliant like cooperative implementation. Each player is always doing something different, but you always have to work together, and it's just endless creativity, that entire game. And it can be a little like tough for Malia, and she was getting kind of frustrated with me, but I think the game's kind of designed for that to happen a little bit. It's thematically appropriate, given that it was a game about divorce. But
just a little.
It plays way better than I would have ever expected. Constantly surprising. I honestly didn't think. I'm fond. I really like Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons. And I think A Way Out was like okay, but I really didn't expect such a like technically sound gameplay experience, cooperative gameplay experience from this developer. Yeah.
It's very rich. It's also a very good looking game. Like I think this is a step above most their past projects. Also, I think it's worth mentioning too that like not only is it a good multiplayer game, it's 2022 and this is a split screen couch co-op game that's incredible.
True. Yeah.
man,
How many
it's
other
been.
splits? Go ahead, Nick.
I was just saying, it's just like it's perfect for sitting down for an hour and playing a chapter, and then putting it down, coming back,
Yep.
and then just it's like Robin and I have been kind of playing in chunks. I'll be honest, I haven't finished it yet.
Yeah, neither have
Oh
I.
my
But it's
god,
also
Nick.
I know,
Fucker,
Brad.
I knew it because this shit would be like way up on your list and you just sort of
No.
stopped talking
Here's-
about it and I fucking knew it.
No, Brad. But here's first of all, you don't know it's not high up on my list. And
It will be, but it
two,
would have been higher.
But let me also say that it's a bit of a challenge too, because it is a couch co-op game. I'm not just playing this with some rando online. I'm playing it with my wife, and
Some
Who you
random-
live
we
with.
have
You
My
have no
wife.
excuse.
no. We have two different. We have very different tastes in video games, right? And so the fact that we're even both like coming together to play this game
Oh
collectively
man,
is great.
is she
But, like,
just talking shit the whole time? This is
No.
flamers.
But
I want to play Borderlands.
but she also doesn't play games nearly as frequently as I do. So
Oh, all right.
Yeah,
just time. I mean, no, I'm just
You
like
saying
time
it just
management.
sucks?
No.
I-
It's like when I feel like playing It Takes Two.
Oh, I see.
It's not a very good chance that she's necessarily
Right.
in the mood to play
Yeah,
It Takes
yeah,
Two.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's the big challenge. But when we do find those moments to sit down and play together, it's incredible. It's just fucking incredible.
Yeah.
It's the opposite for me. It's like I was never in the mood to play it, and my wife Malia was just like, "Oh, you want to play It Takes Two?" And I'm like, I'm not in the mood. And she just looked at me like I'm some dumb bitch. It was fun. we finally got through it though.
Yeah.
Well, hold on.
Ka-
And what I was so go ahead, Ed.
Katie struggled a lot with the shooting. We're like just finished the bee wasp area or whatever.
Yeah.
And the squirrels, and she struggled a lot with like aiming and shooting because she
Mhm.
doesn't play first person shooters or third person shooters as the case might be. And so but like other than that, like all the levels before there, she was doing very, very fine with the platforming and stuff like that
We
for the
would
most
switch
part,
off
so.
sometimes depending on
Yeah.
which one
Mhm.
was least complicated or whatever.
We thought about
that
that.
was definitely the case, and I think they did that on purpose, having one role definitely more complicated than the other one, because that gives you the opportunity to, I don't want to say like relieve that person, but if they're sticking with that character the whole game, obviously it can provide a challenge for them. But yeah, you can easily either just hand the other person the controller because it is a couch co-op game, or you can actually switch roles and each person choose the other character.
Yeah.
Right.
And plus, how often do you get to commit a murder in a couch co-op game
That's
together?
another thing. That's another thing about this game that's so brilliant is that not only is it split screen couch co-op game, both characters are often or always doing two different things. Like their
Yeah.
mechanics are totally different, and you're having to work together using those mechanics in unique ways.
Murder
And like
not murder.
To either help each other or fuck over each other.
Yeah.
or that.
Because that
And
was
the
very
little
much
mini
something you
games,
could
the
do.
little mini games you find throughout it that are like just little distractions and stuff, and the two characters are being very like competitive with each other. It's so good. The game's so fucking good, and I will finish it, Brad. Just moving a little slower.
Have you at
Um,
least met Moon Baboon?
Yes, we have met Moon
Okay.
Baboon.
Have you met Cutie the elephant?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm also surprisingly that game is
Go
way
ahead, go.
longer than you would imagine.
Oh,
Nick,
no,
what's
it
your-
is not like a 10-hour game. It is like probably close to what, like 15 or 20?
Yeah.
Like it's some heft
Which
to
is-
it. But you know
Which
what?
is
Like
a
we've
lot
already
for a
mentioned,
co-op game.
which sounds like when you start that game, it sounds like if you tell someone this is like a 20-hour game, you're like, oh, this is not gonna be fun in 20 hours. But because, like we mentioned earlier, each section and each area is so unique, and you're doing so many different things, like it feels like a new game.
Absolutely. All right, so that knocks out 4 out of 6 of our winners. My runner-up though against It Takes Two was Deathloop. Actually, we mentioned it earlier. We were talking about it, but like the just the nature of being together in a level, but not having any direct knowledge of where the other person is. Like the fact that you could be invaded, quote unquote, invaded, being hunted down by Juliana or hunting as Juliana, and it's really just about the what's the main character's name again? Colt? Is it Colt?
Colt.
Yeah.
Yeah, Colt.
Colt is trying to achieve his objective while avoiding Juliana, and Juliana's purely there to try and kill you. There
Or
are
not even
situations
avoiding
where,
Juliana, going straight through her.
yeah, or that. I mean, it's just a matter of like you can play you can be in a multiplayer situation and maybe never run into the other person, or
Yeah.
just manage to completely like sneak by them, which is just a really unique feeling.
Because Juliana can like transform into any of the enemies or whatever, like it has a very Assassin's Creed multiplayer kind of
Yeah, it
elements
does.
to it, right?
Mhm.
Where you're like trying to look for people that are acting like suspicious outside of what you would expect the normal characters to do, like that kind of stuff. And like this is my runner up too, so we can just skip over me completely. But it's just it really is like I get some really good moments where um Juliana, I can see her in the distance. I pull up my sniper and I just surprise her and knock her in the head while she's jumping, and I manage to get her right in the head, and she just falls down into the abyss. And I'm just like, how was I not capturing that? Like, where's my NVIDIA Shadow Play? Because it's like I want to
know,
share that
right?
everywhere. It was such a great shot,
Dude,
man.
there similar moments where it's like I literally several times where I got into like a sniper rifle just battle, like we're on complete opposite ends of the map and we're both
Yeah,
trying to
totally.
like poke our heads out and shoot the other one and try to fool the other one, but we're just it's so like we're on rooftops just like peeking out of windows and stuff. It's just it's so good, but you're doing this while also in a world, a quote unquote like single player world where there's other NPCs and enemies around that you have to worry about and be and you're also just trying to do accomplish your normal objective while also trying to remember to deal with Juliana at the same time. It's just such a unique feeling. So yeah, that's my runner up.
It is my runner up as well.
Holy crap, look at this. Like one side the winners are all It Takes Two,
Well,
and the
we've
runner
wrapped up
ups
this
are all
category.
Deathloop.
Wait, no, we got Crispy.
Chris is we have no
Come
idea.
on,
My
Crispy,
runner-up.
mix it up.
Okay, my runner-up for best multiplayer experience is Monster Hunter Rise.
We got
It's
that one.
Delightful. And my winner is
Final Fantasy 14
you know,
Endwalker.
the most multiplayer game on this list.
Yeah. Like, how
Final
many players
Fantasy
is that?
14. I mean, it's many players.
Massively many.
Massive amount of many players, and it's fantastic. Chris, you put that on your name, not
I'm
my
fixing
name.
it.
But
You're both
but it
Chris.
could also be yours.
No, it's
What
not.
a delightful game, and I don't know.
Big in our community too.
I don't know.
I'm
I
sorry,
don't know if
Nolan,
you
what'd
guys
you
are
say your
ready.
runner-up
I don't know if you can handle it, but whatever.
Hey, I'm still level 20, bitch, in Realm Reborn.
Oh man,
I'll get there. I'll get there one day.
what are you, like an arcanist or some shit?
I don't even remember. No, I'm working towards being a summoner. That's what I
I
want to
went-
be.
Yeah.
Nick will never play that stuff.
Shut up, Brad. Every time I
Summoner
play,
got cooler in Endwalker, so I mean,
every time I play Final Fantasy 14, and same thing happened with 11 too. I got to level 20, and for some reason, that's where it always ends for me. I get pulled away at level 20, and I never go back. I don't know.
It's so funny
help
because
you,
those
Doc.
first levels are such a slog.
I
That
know.
like after you get past that, it just gets better and better slowly.
I know,
slowly.
but I'm also one of these weirdos that can't let my brain just won't let me skip that stuff. Like I feel I don't want to feel like I don't want to skip it. I want to do all the stuff.
I get
It's
that.
annoying.
Oh, we have
Alright,
a Nolan runner-up to do.
Yeah.
Nolan, what's your
you
runner-up?
skipped Nolan.
No.
My
Nolan's winner is It
runner-up-
Takes Two. We don't have his runner-up.
Correct. My runner-up for best multiplayer experience is actually going to be Valheim.
I forgot that was this year.
Yeah,
oh,
it was
I
a
played
great
that.
choice.
Early
That should
this
be-
year. Yeah, it was very early. We all experienced it for the first time, or not all of us, but most of us together. The first time did not go so well, but afterwards, I spun up a dedicated server, and me and some community members inhabited that server for a while, and just had a whole fucking lot of fun playing it. There was so much to do in the world. It was one of those things where there have been other games like this, other kind of survival, kind of online, unique. What do you call these games? There's a term for them. I always forget because I don't play a whole lot of them.
Sandbox survival.
Yeah, like sandbox survival, kind of like that, where each world is unique. But I really enjoyed this one because I really felt like it did a good job of putting you in that era in not feeling kind of, don't get me wrong, nothing against Minecraft. It's a fucking fantastic game, but it didn't feel like you were putting up blocks. It really did kind of feel a little more realistic to an extent of you building, starting with a little wooden shack and working your way up to stone and actually having really unique kind of
Structures.
structures and towns even. I actually ended up spinning up a server on my like a private dedicated server for my friend, and ended up joining their server. And like it's almost like a different game because there was like in our server, me and Jaeger kind of had a little area, and like I think Skyliner and maybe like Victus and some other people were like other part of the world, literally inhabiting the world, but somewhere else. And I never saw their area. But when I joined my friend's
I don't know
server,
what the magic of that is, but something about that is magical. Occupying the same world but never seeing each other somehow feels like a really cool experience.
yeah, I would pull up the mini map or the map, and I would see them off somewhere else doing something, but I had no idea what they were doing.
That's cool.
But I joined my friend's server, and the 5 of them were all in one area. So they built this giant kind of like city with all their houses, and they built a big fence around it and stuff like that. And I'm going to talk about this a little more later. It's going to come up, but a lot of fun playing that game. It's one of those things where Jaeger had mentioned in chat that him and I took down all the bosses, some of which were very difficult. But obviously, while the game was released, it was still kind of a work in progress, and so even like the final boss had like boss drop item pending, like, and it was just like a random item. But excited to see what they do next, but definitely a whole lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a cool experience. I specifically remember Crispy running away into the woods to live his own life away from,
Yeah.
away from
Yeah,
us.
it's like you can't just live off grid in that game. The community won't let
huge
you
part.
do it. They
Yeah,
have
and
to
then
you
come
build
and
walls
find
kill
your
you.
house and burn it
It's just
down.
like it's just like the
super
real
personally,
world.
it's
If you
not a
go
video game.
live in a cabin in the woods, then they like start calling you a terrorist and they come and arrest you.
I just want to live in a cabin in the woods. Damn it! All right,
Honestly, Crispy had the right idea. He did the right thing. Just
Chris
he
Davis,
wanted to be a hermit.
hunted
Damn it!
down.
tell us about Halo again.
It's Halo Infinite. What the fuck are you thinking? There's nothing else to say.
Hey,
Chris, did you get
Halo-
the cat ears for your Spartan?
No,
Don't lie. It's okay.
I haven't spent any money on this game.
I'd say you're. Oh, that's one of the things you have to buy with like real world.
You
money.
haven't spent any money on Halo Infinite. So
No.
like, how do you
But
feel
Microsoft
about
doesn't have a dime from you.
how do you feel
I mean,
about
other
well, I
than me
mean to get
buying
the
the campaign.
campaign. How do you feel about the progression for free to play only players?
It's
Let's
not
get into
pleasant,
that.
but the game.
Are we saying it's not pleasant because it takes forever to unlock anything? Because that's kind of the vibe I got.
And
it's
most
not
of the
good.
cool stuff you can't even unlock anyway.
Yeah. There's a lot of like really cool like paid armor variants and stuff like that. Especially like the samurai stuff is really good. But like it's not worth $5 or $10 just for a fucking armor piece, in my opinion.
Honorable
said-
mention to Knockout City.
Knockout
Yeah,
City.
I had fun with that while we were playing it.
That
Also,
was
honorable
originally
mention-
my runner-up, but I replaced it with Valheim. But yes,
It
Knockout
had a
City is
lot of
very
heart. It certainly had a lot of heart.
I had a lot of fun. A close runner up for me was also Monster Hunter Rise because first Monster Hunter experience, and on top of that, we got to play it together, which was a lot of fun. So I'm hoping to have another opportunity to do that. I'm sure I'm probably going to end up picking up that expansion.
What's
as well.
next, Nick?
Next category is going to be best comfort food. What did we decide in the last segment? Is this called best most comfortable pants or something? I don't know.
Comfortable pants
The,
game.
the
Sure.
sweatpants award.
My runner-up for the sweatpants award is Ease 9. Played quite a few Ease games in the day, and this one was really comfortable because it really honestly wasn't all that much different from the previous game, Ease 8. But it's like a nice pair of pants that or slippers. Is it comfortable shoes? Does that make more sense? I don't know. East
Sure.
9, it felt really good to play. Just pick up the controller and like really rip through some dudes, and it was cool. But my winner for best comfort food is Lost Judgment. Again, I've played so many Yakuza games. I knew exactly what this was. I knew exactly what I was gonna like about it, and I did, and I couldn't stop playing. It'll always be. There's so many of these games. This is my Assassin's Creed or Call of Duty or whatever. This is my nearly annual franchise that I'll always play because it
Fucking
is
Nolan
my
in
most
chat typing in most comfortable butt plug.
it's my most comfortable butt plug.
Slides in.
I'll always travel to Japan to get my comfortable butt plug. Anyways, that's my winner.
All right. My runner-up for best comfort food. My runner-up is Tormented Souls. This is a
Really?
Resident Evil clone, baby. Like pure classic Resident Evil. I mean, it's weird calling a game that's called Tormented Souls comfort food because it's really bloody and really grotesque and whatnot, really oppressive. But at the same time, it's that formula, baby. It's that Resident Evil formula that I love. Uh, it is a love letter to classic Resident Evil. I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm not saying it's even better than most Resident Evil games. What is that face Chris Davis is making?
I'm just saying. I am honestly kind of in shock that you chose this game.
Why?
What?
It's comfort food. It's comfort
I think
food.
it's.
love
I think
Resident
it's.
Evil.
Evil. This is
I
a
think
great
what's
pick.
shocking, Nick, is that like it just doesn't seem like you play games for comfort.
Yeah,
I mean, I think
yeah.
Returnal, yeah, testaments to that. Yeah.
Completely in the spirit of the category. It makes sense. I get it. I was almost going to pick Resident Evil Village because even though it's a horror experience, it's a formula you're so familiar
Yeah.
with. You just, it's
Yeah.
like a comfortable pair of pants.
like going home.
But like I think Resident Evil Village is just different enough to not be entirely comfortable. I mean,
Sure.
the
It's
the
more
enemy
of a
types
broken
alone.
pair of jeans than
Yeah,
sweatpants.
sure. But
Denim jersey.
my winner for best comfort food is Life is Strange: True Colors. Man, what a comfy game, man! It's low stress.
Cozy?
It's nice to look at. Wait, sorry, Crispy, what'd you say?
I said cozy.
It's cozy. It's
I
cozy
mean,
as hell.
it's also incredibly sad and emotional. But
It is sad. It is sad. I mean, again,
It
again,
is.
I'm talking.
Sometimes
it's
you
not-
just need to sit and have a good cry,
Dude,
man.
a good
Like,
cry can do wonders, man. It could be
Yeah.
very
So-
comforting.
Nick's
You guys ever
girlfriend
just
is
sit in your
sitting on
car
his
and
couch
cry?
Yeah, especially since 2020 a few times. But I mean, Life is Strange. I played the first one. It didn't really resonate with me all that much. I mean, I enjoyed it for what it was, but this game just felt really cozy. It was like the whole game has this vibe of like curled up at a corner with a nice book with a warm lamp, reading a book,
Yeah,
sipping on
that
coffee
sounds a
kind
little
of vibe to
too
it.
cozy. It seemed kind of make believe to me, honestly.
It did.
Like
It did.
there should have
But it
been
was
more like meth heads and racism and stuff. wasn't
but but I think there's something to be said about I mean, it's probably a byproduct of living in the times of COVID, where everything is a little stressful. Though, like, this game is just what I needed at this time. And also, I played it. I forgot what I played right before it. I played something just before I finished this, or before I
Tormented
started
Souls.
playing this. That was like incredibly. No. It was. I'll figure out what it was, but it was something very stressful. And then I immediately finished that, and then booted up Life is Strange, and was like, "This is perfect." So, and also, just worth mentioning, great characters. I mean, I enjoyed the story quite a bit.
We have
Great-
categories for everything you're mentioning
Yeah,
right now.
you're right. Sorry. Let's go. Nolan, what's your runner-up?
Alrighty, my runner-up for best comfort pants is The Artful Escape. This is a game I know when I talked about it on the show a couple weeks ago that some people in chat were saying that's
That
not
was
a
last
game.
week, Nolan.
I know. I'm trying to give the illusion that like, oh, we have so many 50 podcasts ago we do so many. It's a game that you don't have to. You're not on the edge of your seat. The stakes don't ever feel like they're that high. It doesn't ever feel. I mean, yeah, you're off in space and blah blah blah, but it doesn't really feel like you're ever at risk. And so it's just kind of this relaxing, escape that is
An
very
artful
artful.
escape, if you will.
Yeah,
No, I
very
totally agree.
enjoyable. My winner though, for best comfort food is The Binding of Isaac: Repentance.
No explanation needed.
Of course.
That was released this year. Not only it is kind of like a penultimate version of that game, but it also includes a bunch of new content. And holy shit, the amount of new content they added as well. and it kind of sucked me back in for a hot minute this year. And it's one of those games where, similar to it definitely, I was trying not to put it like as most addictive, but it's definitely up there, mainly because while it is not like a new game, it is essentially, an expansion slash, definitive edition of
It's
the
the
game.
sweatpants with holes in it, for
Mm.
sure.
Yes, it is the sweatpants that are literally like getting close to 20 years old. Maybe not 20. When did this game come out? Like, I don't know. I think the OG version's like 2008 or something like that.
Oh my god.
I'm trying to remember that's what it used to
When
be,
it
like
was like a
game.
flash game, yeah.
Yeah, Binding of Isaac started as like a flash game on like a browser.
By the way,
Um,
Chris Davis. Oh,
no,
Chris
but
Davis,
I was just saying real quick to finish up my thoughts on Repentance. It is, if you've never played Binding of Isaac and you jump into Repentance, you are probably going to be overwhelmed, because there are, like, I think, like, if you add up all the items and artifact, like all of the different things, there's like over 1,000 different things that you can get in this game, and it probably will be overwhelming for someone new just because there's so much. But at the same time, it doesn't necessarily matter, because, similar to any kind of roguelike game, it's just another item that does something for you, and it helps you out for the most part.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, at this point, if no one's, I would hope most people have at least given this game a try. But if you haven't, I would recommend it, just because, similar to like a deck building game. We talked about Inscription a bit, and I'm sure we'll talk about it more. And I think someone in chat had mentioned, like, I think it might actually even been Jeff. One of the things about this game is, to an extent, it's meant to be broken. You are not supposed to go through this game with like the bare minimum. Oh, I only want to be able to do 1 damage. You want to find the combination of things that make it ridiculous. You want to have a combination of items and trinkets, so when you walk into a room, you press a button and everything dies, because you can get to that point in this game, and it is so satisfying when you struggle through runs that are hard, and all of a sudden something switches over, and like the game, you feel like a god.
Hearing you talk about this, Nolan, I'm like, how did this not make it into your most addictive category? This is
Well, and because
This
there's
is-
other addictive games, and the reason is, and to be honest with you, I did not play 100 hours of it this year. I probably only played 20 or 30 hours, because that's not the total number of hours I've played of this game. It is way higher up there, and so I didn't let myself play it too much, because, similar to like a Final Fantasy 14, I know I will get re-addicted. But it is also a game that I can, any point in time, just kind of jump back in and play and love. But yeah,
absolutely
very
I
comforting.
just want to say, Chris Davis, that I'm actively repulsed by the way you wrote East 9. You did Roman numeral 9 with a little x.
No,
With like
that's the
lowercase
way
x.
that's the way it's
It's-
detecting the text from the file.
Disgusting.
It's just the way it's detecting the text from the file. It's
Yeah,
capitalizing
sure.
the first letter in a word.
he's blaming technology, is what he's
I'm
doing.
blaming technology.
Crispy, you have a
Yeah.
runner-up in this category?
I have a runner-up in this category. What was this category? Best butt plug or something?
Comfort food. Sure. Sure.
My runner-up for best comfort food game, I am giving to Monster Hunter Rise, because, boy, what a delightful video game.
Honorable
My
mention for me, for sure.
my winner for best comfort food, I'm giving to Halo Infinite, because I did, as Chris Davis said before, spend a lot of time just like getting on my computer after work and being like, nobody talk to me. I'm just gonna shoot people in Halo for a
veg
few
out.
hours, and just put on like YouTube cooking videos or something in the background and just not think. I love that. And Halo was really good for that. I haven't played it in a few weeks now, but
There's an event going on right now, and the ultimate prize for finishing that mini battle pass is like holographic mohawk spikes for your helmet.
oh, I saw that. Yeah,
Holographic mohawks.
You can't trick me, Christine.
Just saying.
No, yeah. That stuff did look really cool, but
Yeah.
no, I don't know. It's just, yeah.
Cool.
But that's what it is. It's comfort food.
You know what? Halo Infinite has made it into every category we've talked about tonight, which is impressive, I think. I did not expect it to be so pervasive. Chris Davis, what's your runner-up?
Well, I promise you, for this category, Halo Infinite is not going to come up.
Okay.
My Runner up is a game that has not been mentioned, probably won't be mentioned for the rest of the night, but it got a little bit of notoriety here. It was Unmetal. Unmetal, the
That Metal Gear
comedy sort
Solid.
of classic Metal Gear
Metal
parody
Gear,
game.
not solid,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Sorry. Metal.
It's-
I say Metal Gear Solid by default. I apologize.
Yeah, classic Metal Gear parody. It is a comedy game. So if the jokes aren't landing for you, the game is not going to land for you. But it just has so much fun reveling in the source material and telling this ludicrous story that makes absolutely no fucking sense that just evolves over time. It was a delight. I finished it in 2 sittings, and anyone who's a Metal Gear fan, I think ought to take a good look at it. But my winner is the standalone expansion for Shadow Tactics Blazing Shogun, Aiko's Choice. I love what they've done with real-time tactics with Mimimi's catalog with Shadow Tactics and Desperados 3. Nick knows what I'm talking about.
I do.
And this little standalone expansion just brings you back into this cute story that you enjoyed 5 years previous, and explores another character that you really didn't get to spend a whole lot of time with. It's pure comfort food to come back to that
with some of that
experience.
Some of that classic tactics gameplay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mimimi. How do you say Mimimi?
I want to say it's
I don't know.
Mimimi.
Mimimi. They're pretty great. Ever since I finished playing Desperados last year, I've put Shadow Tactics on my list because I know the urge to play that style of game is coming again, and that's gonna be where it's at for me when I get there. Ed, what's your runner up?
Yeah, so I have 2 games that haven't been mentioned at all. Unsighted, as I mentioned before, in the previous categories, it's like a pair of comfort pants. As soon as you get in, you know what you had to do, you know where you're going, all that good stuff, and so you just get in and go, and it makes me very happy to experience that kind of gameplay again. My winner is Bravely Default 2. And it is Bravely Default 2 for a number of reasons. I've shown my spreadsheet on the podcast before of me picking classes for different characters in Bravely Default 1 and Bravely 2nd.
You know Ed's serious about something when he has a spreadsheet for it.
Yeah.
Man loves the spreadsheets.
So do I.
You just get in, you get the classes, you get the nice like white mage, monk, war fighter at the beginning, and then after that you get much cooler classes, and you just kind of mix and match them and build like good builds and stuff like that, and it just makes me very happy to just kind of like settle into that, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Honorable mention for Fire Emblem 3 Houses, which I replayed, which is another spreadsheet game.
That's we have an award for that.
Asterisk
2020
award,
game,
baby.
right?
Sure,
2020.
yeah,
Three Houses is like 2018 or something at this point, right? I don't remember what year it came out.
Fair enough. That is comfort food for sure.
Any other honorable mentions? I want to throw out Death's Door for the same reasons Ed's talking about Unsighted.
Mhm.
Death's Door is like just this super comfy, but also really well designed Zelda clone without maybe the stressful aspects of Unsighted, because Unsighted has like the time management stuff, which can be really stressful.
Yes.
No one looks like he wants to add something.
Bonfire Peaks. Comfortable because of the music and the atmosphere, uncomfortable because you get really fucking frustrated when you can't solve a puzzle. But besides that, very comforting aesthetically.
Yeah,
me,
same thing happened
Bowser's-
with me in Wildfire
Bowser's
Spot.
Fury, just that classic Mario platforming formula. Kind of done it before. The cat suit was instantly familiar, but very comfy pair of sweatpants.
Here we go. Honorable mention for Lust from Beyond.
Okay.
Okay, let's
We didn't
move
take
on.
Well, this is
Sure.
my comfortable butt plug, so he's not wrong.
All right. Well, what's the spiky butt plug?
Speaking of spiky butt plugs, our next award is Most Out of Their Comfort Zone award. So this is kind of the opposite of that. So what game we enjoyed the most that was kind of outside of our usual, forte, if you will. It's a
My
subjective
runner-up-
award, but go ahead.
My runner-up is Before Your Eyes. I'm taking this literally because it was very uncomfortable not blinking for extended periods of time. Even though it was probably against the spirit of the game, I wanted to absorb as much of it as I could, which meant, not blinking until a scene was over. But I still blinked. Got emotional. But my winner for most out of my comfort zone game was, not only was it a type of game that I never play, but it was a setup that was physically uncomfortable, and that was playing Castlevania Grimoire of Souls on a really old iPhone with a bad battery, strapped to a controller with a battery plugged in at all times while I played this thing. And
Holy shit!
Castlevania Grimoire of Souls is it's not really free to play, but it is designed to be like a gotcha free to play grind game where you're building up currency and spending it on rolls to get you know different weapons and stuff that you need, like various rarity of weapons. I never played a game like this really, and it has its merits for sure, but it is definitely not the thing I usually play. But the links I will go to play a new Castlevania game, which it was new in this region, a new
There's
Castlevania game this year.
it's a new
It is
low, but
my winner for most out of the comfort zone, my comfort zone. It was I was both comfortable with, familiar with some things, but it was very, very different than what I'm used to for Castlevania. So
fair enough.
yeah.
Fair enough. My runner-up for out of comfort zone would be Returnal. I know Brad's gonna laugh at me for once again bringing up Hades when I talk about Returnal, but
Don't
this.
do it.
No. I know. I'm at this point. I'm just playing into it, but like the genre is still very new to me. And honestly, sorry, Brad. Honestly, after I finished Hades, I was kind of like, but am I really into this genre, or is it just kind of a one-off thing? Did I luck into something that appealed to me for a specific reason? But Returnal kind of proved to me that no, maybe there is something here for me as a genre. So not only just dabbling in a genre like that I'm not super comfortable with, but also combining that with like the difficulty and just sheer brutality of like a Souls game almost. It requires
Or
such
like me.
or a bullet hell game, which bullet hell is a genre that I definitely never touch. In fact, Returnal is probably the only game I would categorize. Well, actually, I take that back. I played Outland. Is that a bullet hell game?
Yeah, by the
Yeah.
same developer.
Oh my god, you're right. Holy shit! I completely I did not realize that was a Housemarque game. Yeah, I liked Outland and I liked this, but yeah, just so many elements combined in this game from different genres, genres that I'm just generally speaking not super comfortable with, and I really enjoyed it. But my winner is Monster Hunter Rise. Never played a Monster Hunter game. As an outsider's perspective, looking in, I liked the appeal because I like dinosaurs, right? I like big monsters, it's
I
cool,
will
right? But
note
like,
that Monster
Glad
Hunter
you
Rise
made it.
is my runner-up.
but like from an outsider's perspective, it was always kind of like it looks neat, but I don't know if it's really for me. But Monster Hunter Rise showed me that maybe Monster Hunter is for me. It's super satisfying, super fun to play for reasons we've mentioned multiple times tonight. And I
What a
think it made me a
delightful
fan.
game.
What a delightful game, as Crispy has said several times. It's so good. And I think it showed me more than anything that maybe there's a Monster Hunter fan in me, and
Maybe.
and like I'll be honest, and I kind of hate admitting this, but like as soon as I finished Monster Hunter Rise, I went out and bought Iceborne with the intention of playing it.
What?
It hasn't really culminated yet. I think I was still kind of burnt out.
Nicholas.
I played it for like 80 like 60 70 hours, so I wasn't quite ready to jump right into another one, but I was like I like this enough to know that I want to play the one on the really pretty console. So I went and grabbed
Motherfucker.
that.
It's on
I know.
PC now. It
Yeah.
still looks kind of like an
Well,
up-res Switch game.
this was
Yeah.
before I had a 3070, so
It
I'll
looks
say
good on
this much:
PC.
in a couple years, when Monster Hunter 6 comes out on the PS5 and Series X and stuff,
Hell
I have
yeah.
a feeling we'll all be playing that, and it's going to be pretty amazing. Well, except
That's
Chris
gonna be
Davis,
so
he's
good.
got his weird hangups. I don't know.
I do.
all right.
I like to imagine that Chris will have evolved as a person by that point, and he'll be playing Monster Hunter with us.
And
What
Crispy's
weapon
the
will Chris
optimist
Davis
tonight.
use? He seems like a hunting horn kind of guy.
Oh my god, we could use one of those.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, Nolan. We know Monster Hunter Rise is your runner-up. What's your winner?
My winner is a very much literal most out of my comfort zone. It was 12 minutes.
Oh,
And
Oofa
not for the
doofa.
gameplay aspect, for the story aspect
Oh,
I
of
read
that
the wiki.
game.
Are you telling us
Um,
you don't click that porn tab?
I do
no.
not. And it was very uncomfortable, and I kind of wanted to stop playing. And if anybody has played it, they know what I'm talking about, and I don't want to get too much into the details. But definitely did not enjoy that. And I am to an extent frustrated at the developer for dragging me along on that ride only to drop that shit on me.
12 minutes.
15 hours or however many hours into the game.
If you're looking for 12 minutes porn on Pornhub, you have to type in not 12 minutes.
12 minutes, not 12 minutes.
What?
If you know, you know. Let's move on.
Okay, let's see. Crispy, do you have a runner-up in this category?
For comfort zone, I
Out of comfort
don't
zone,
know.
yeah.
Out of for the leather pants award. I don't really. I mean, like I said, I didn't play that many games this year, so the ones I did were like, highly selected for. Uh,
Crispy is an
I don't
exclusive
know if I
gamer this
had
year.
to. If I had, yeah, I was a very tough gamer to get into. If I had to say one, I would say Back for Blood, only because I bought that at full price and started playing it with some friends, and then went, "Oh no, this is just Left 4 Dead. I spent too much money on this." Not that it's like a terrible game or anything, but it's not. Like you can go play Left 4 Dead for like $10 or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Doesn't it
right.
It
doesn't
certainly had
feel
cool ideas.
it
just
doesn't
maybe
feel like I should be paying full price for this. But my winner for most out of comfort zone, I'm gonna say, is Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach, because I fucking hate jump scares.
Yeah.
I was really
And,
surprised when you were the one that kind of turned me on to that game.
yeah,
But I'm glad you did.
and
'cause
I
it's
do
cool.
think I do think that game has a slightly more forgiving atmosphere than some of the others. Like some of the others are just like fucking oppressive, and I'm just like, I don't want to play this anymore. Everything keeps jumping out and scaring me. But yeah, this one was definitely a weird one for me, but I enjoyed it.
Wonderful. All right, Chris Davis, what's your runner-up?
Okay. This is definitely outside my comfort zone. And if I'm being honest, I jumped off it pretty quick.
Is it a PlayStation game? I'm sorry.
Fuck you.
Man, Brad is definitely back.
A Sony exclusive.
It's Crusader
Davis?
Kings 3.
yeah.
That
Wait,
is
it didn't come
a
out last year, did it?
it had been in early access thing for a
Wait.
while, but it finally came out like 1.0, I think in like June or something like that on Game Pass. And I played it and just like, this game is so fucking demanding and it's so cruel and controlling as to what you have to do to be a monarch in the Middle Ages. I bounced off it. It is something
The
else.
spirit. The spirit of the category is best game that you played that was outside of your comfort
I
zone.
was
One that
like
you got
Crispy
into
in
it.
that I had to be very selective in what I played
All right,
last year.
fair enough.
so-
Fair enough.
What's your winner?
I'm just making sure you're aware of the category. So what's your winner?
My winner makes much more sense to you, but you might fight me on it. It's Near Replicant.
No,
Wow, Ed was
Sure.
not a fan of that.
Ed was like, "Fuck you, Chris Davis."
I quit.
Yeah. I didn't get into Near like y'all. I didn't play Automata, and I was kind of turned off
Automata,
by talking.
please.
Whatever. I
call it
was kind of
Automata.
turned off by like how y'all were talking about how you got to play through the game like 5 times in order to get the full story, and I'm like, the fuck does that mean? I don't.
Yeah.
Were you not listening
Also
to the other
deceptive.
words we were saying right after that?
I mean,
Also deceptive.
yeah,
Because it's definitely
it felt
not
very deceptive.
just as cut and dry as that.
hit the new game button like 4 times, but it's not like
the same
the
game.
same game.
Yeah, but when you're listening to people talk about it that way, like it sounds like I'm replaying an entire game just to get a slightly different ending,
But-
and it didn't make sense.
But again,
But I played the
to be
Replicant.
fair,
I
to be
played the
fair.
Replicant, and I I mentioned this previously, but I didn't quite get it when I beat the first ending. But then
not
when I
supposed to,
got
'cause it's
back
not
and I
over
played
yet.
through ending B and the context hit, that was my wow moment. And now I
Wow.
fucking get near. And I look
I just
forward to
want
playing
everybody here to
Automata this year.
know. I just want everybody in here who's listening to this podcast to know that when we talked about this game, probably more specifically when we talked about Automata, where you have a lot of the same kind of conversations, and even back further when we talked about the original Nier, we did say all these things.
We did.
Yeah.
We did.
We did.
Chris Davis just tuned us out.
He
I
just
just,
did.
I guess I
record.
just didn't
He
understand
just
at
thinks
the time.
he just thinks we're stupid and don't mean the things that we're saying.
Hey, the important thing here is that he found it. He figured it out. He
I
now gets
understand
it,
now.
and that's the important thing.
I
I'm
am
glad you enjoyed
better
it.
educated.
All right. Speaking of
Ed?
better educated, Ed, what's your? I'm scared.
Wow.
What's, he
My
left it open. I just
runner-up
went for it.
for best out of comfort zone game that I played was Chicory: A Colorful Tale.
There it is. Nice.
It is a
I haven't
painting
heard of this
game?
one.
Question mark.
But is what?
Why do you
It's
hate
a pa-
painting?
It's a painting. I'm not an artist.
Oh.
So like, and I actually
If
This
you
is
like had
finished
the truth.
Chicory, you would know that we're all artists, Ed.
Yeah. No, I have. I just
We all
finished it,
have
like,
the
last weekend.
souls of art.
No, it's good. It's great. That's why it's my best out of comfort zone game, Brad. Thank you for explaining the category. But yeah, no, it's really good and really like heartfelt, and highly recommend to anyone who does it. By the same guy who made Wander Song. If you did not,
I just want everybody here to know
that
that Brad talked me out. I was like about to hit checkout on my Switch to play this game, and Brad was like, "This game is so good, everybody should play it." But maybe not you, Nick. Maybe it's not for
Did
you.
I say that?
But
That's
it's
just
still
funny
not-
to me.
like it's could have been there.
Your
You know,
soul isn't ready to fly,
It's
Nick.
because I don't have the heart for you to play another game that blows people's minds except you, and you're just like, it's my own little weapon. Remember what happened with
Proven-
Inscription, Nick? Remember?
Have I not proven myself multiple times to you that I have a very open mind when it comes to game? I loved
I
Inscription.
know. No, my fear is not that you would not play through Chicory. My fear is that you would Inscription Chicory.
But I finished Inscription.
I know.
Yeah.
But it
He
didn't
doesn't
blow
think
your
you were
mind like everybody else.
enthusiastic enough about it.
I want enthusiasm.
Brad's an energy vampire. He needs you to like really get worked up about something, or else
I'm buying
it's
Chicory
he
tonight.
can't get off. You know.
I'm
I
buying
think
Chicory
Chicory
tonight.
is a great buy on
this
Switch.
is an excellent transition into my winner, which is Inscription. And it's
Oh.
Inscription because I don't
Hey, that
play.
game was pretty good.
I don't play fucking card games. I don't.
Why are you
I
gonna
don't
say
really
it like
them.
that?
They're not.
Fucking
They're not.
card games. Come on.
They're not my thing. But this is a really fun card game, and it makes sense why people love them. You know.
I fucking feel you, Ed. That's
so
exactly how I feel.
I
I'm
am
surprised this wasn't Nick's
I'm in it.
actually comfort zone or
Yeah.
uncomfortable game.
I mean, I'm going to be honest. 2021, if nothing else, is a year that was very much like a lot of stuff that I played was outside of my comfort zone. This is a very strange year for me. Like there's not very many games that I played this year that like my top 10 list was really hard to put together because almost everything felt like it was outside of my comfort zone to some degree. Not everything, but a lot of things. So not entirely surprising. All right, so winners for best game outside of our comfort zone, we had Castlevania Grimoire of Souls, Monster Hunter Rise, 12 Minutes, Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach, Nier Replicant, and Inscription. That's a nice spread of games there.
I don't think just saying Brad's game is enough to express why it's out of his comfort zone. Having to play it the way he did.
That was, yeah, quite literally. But I appreciate the you know what I'm saying. Next up, what are we doing? Is that our last game? No.
Best game nobody played.
Best
Let's
game
do this
nobody
one.
played.
Man, I don't think we're gonna make it, guys.
Guys,
I
let's
think
pick
we
up
will.
the pace.
Okay.
Best game nobody played. Brad, go. Runner
This
up.
is pretty simple because I'm going to talk about both of these games later, so I don't need to spend much time. My runner-up is Astalon Tears of the Earth. I kind of begged people to play this. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And we'll
Except
talk
me. You
about.
talked me out of that one too.
I'll talk about exactly why I like it so much a little bit later. And
Why
my
couldn't you talk me
winner
out of all
for
these things?
best game nobody played is Wildermyth, which I think is a really great game that came out last year. And I'll also explain why I think it's such a great game in one of my awards later.
All right, fair enough.
Oh.
I guess it's my turn already. Best game nobody played. Lost in Random is my runner-up. Really cool game. I think cool mostly from a perspective of just like presentation and story concept, and it's another card-based game, but it's kind of shallow. But still a lot of fun. Really cool first game from a new studio. Has that very much kind of like a Beetlejuice or like Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas kind of vibe going for it, and it works. It really works. Really cool game. But my winner for best game nobody played was Unsighted. This game is not getting.
Also, my winner.
Yeah, I base this a lot on kind of, generally speaking, how I feel about it. Looking at our own community, I didn't see a ton of people talking about it. I know Brad mentioned it earlier in the year. Jeff was kind of the one that pushed me over the edge to actually try it. Well, actually, Game Pass is probably what pushed me over the edge to actually try it. But Jeff got me into it, and I started playing it, and instantly kind of fell in love with it because of the way the game feels. It very much like I bounce off of very like retro looking games a lot, and I know that sounds very shallow of me, but I just it very much looks like something you would see on I don't know, Super Nintendo or something. I just kind of bounce off it, but like, I normally would bounce off it, but I embraced this game fully. It had a really cool story, really cool concept, felt really nice, and I loved the time management and having to make hard decisions. I learned some really tough lessons.
It's funny you say that because Unsighted, it's a game I also played, and it would totally have won my most out of my comfort zone if I had played with the time setting on. But you could totally just turn it off.
I can't imagine playing without the time setting. Otherwise, it's just a Zelda clone. It feels kind of nice.
Well, it's not a clone, okay, first of all. But it's a Zelda-like game, and you know what? Zelda-like games are good. And you know what? The qualities of that game, like in terms of like level design and combat design and look and music and all that stuff, is good enough to where it's still a fun game even when you don't have the ridiculous stress of everyone's about to die.
But here's so like the moment it kind of clicked for me is like you had this like Navi like companion, right? And just like all the other characters in the world, she upgrades your chip slots, so you can purchase chip slots and apply more upgrades to your character, right? But she has an hour count just like everybody else in the game. Yep. And I about halfway through the game, I was not making the right decisions apparently. She died on me. And I had to do the rest of the game without her, and I could no longer buy additional chip slots. And I was like, I think I fucked up. Am I going to have to start this whole game over? Or because if that's the case, I'm just going to stop. But I pushed through, and it forced me to learn a really important lesson about how to manage
about yourself,
that resource.
No, I mean, did you spend all your meteor dust on the really old vendor lady?
I did.
Trying to keep alive. Yeah,
I did do that. Yeah. It's cool because everybody is tied to something, and but you don't have enough resources to save everybody, and it just forces you to make really hard decisions. And I can't imagine playing the game without that personally. That was kind of the game changer for me. But like that game, I played that the entire time I played that was in 2022, but it just catapulted to the top of my like list of games that I played this year. I fucking loved it. So Nolan, what is your runner-up for best game nobody played?
Runner-up for best game nobody played is Bonfire Peaks. Wasn't hearing too much about this game throughout the year. I'm sure some people played it, but it definitely is a very, very fun puzzle game. I think Ed played some of it.
I played the demo. Honestly, too intimidating for me. My brain just like it breaks my fucking brain.
It can be tough because it is very much it's a 3D world puzzle game that is based on.
For some reason, I couldn't play Catherine or like Steven Sausage Roll, that sort of thing.
Did Steven Sausage Roll? What a game! But yeah, very much based on kind of trying to essentially all you're trying to do is burn some trash. That's all you're really trying to do. You just get this block into a fire. But it just the unique ways you have to do it, and just kind of sometimes the twists that happen in that game are so good. But then my winner for best game nobody played is Dodgeball Academia. I think I might be the only one here that played it.
I played some. It's
Okay.
Game Pass. Yeah.
It is on Game Pass. So yeah, so if you have Game Pass, I'd recommend checking it out. But definitely a whole lot of fun. Very much, like I mentioned on the podcast last week, very much Persona meets Pokemon meets crap. There was one more game I wanted to compare
It's
it
very
to.
much a throwback to the Mario Tennis and Golf RPG style games on the
Yes.
Game Boy Color and
Mhm.
Advance.
Yeah.
Also,
So
strangely enough, 2 games this year with dodgeball is kind of like the center focus.
Mhm.
Who knew?
Yeah, for sure.
2021, the
for
year of dodgeball.
definitely,
Okay,
definitely
Nick.
for different reasons though. Knockout City is definitely more of a obviously competitive thing, whereas Dodgeball Academia, while there is a versus mode to it, is more about kind of the story that kind of drives the characters that are playing dodgeball and kind of the reasons they're doing it and stuff like that. So,
You got the winner wrong there, Chris Davis.
Sorry. Well, I thought it was like
Crispy.
Dodgeball Academia. You put Knockout City.
Crispy, what are your picks for best games no one played?
Man, I didn't play any games, so they're just games I didn't play. My
Best games Crispy didn't play. Go.
my runner up for best games I didn't play. I'm gonna say Wildermyth would be a runner up because I actually did play a little tiny baby bit of this, but not enough to be like, oh, I played this game. But I don't know. I was talking to Brad about it earlier. Sounds really cool. I really want to give it a try. And my winner for best game that nobody played, again, this is just based on the fact that I didn't hear anyone talk about it, and I thought it looked really cool before it came out. I'm gonna give it to Jet: The Far Shore.
Oh yeah.
Which
Nobody here played it.
Nobody
I don't
played
think.
it. Nobody played it, and like I find that a little disconcerting because it looked really cool. It didn't look like a huge prestige, AAA game experience, but for like a cool little indie game based on like I don't know, like rhythm or something, and sci-fi and flying ships around. Like I don't know, it looked fucking charming. I'm surprised nobody played it, including myself. So I want to play it.
I'm ashamed to say that the critical response kind of scared me off a little bit of that one. People said it was kind of frustrating and it wasn't on Game Pass. I play Game Pass games, damn it.
It wasn't on Game Pass. That's
Boo.
the real reason. All right, Chris Davis, what's your runner-up?
Okay, my runner-up for best game no one played is another one I've mentioned in the past. Both of them. Road 96 is my runner-up.
You are the champion of that game.
I am a champion
our
of that
side.
game. I am infatuated with it. I just think more people need to play it. I really don't want to talk about it because it's an experience,
Yep.
And my winner is one I also talked about is D-Lit and Wonder Labyrinth.
Yes, I should have seen that one coming.
Yeah, no, I know y'all didn't play it, and that's perfectly fine. But it is a nice little Metroidvania experience that does not require your brain to be that active, if that makes sense. You don't have to
Fair.
process stuff.
There is
amazing.
definitely something to be said for those kinds of games. It's kind of weird hearing it in just to describe like a quote unquote Metroidvania, but it's.
I mean, it is
what it
technically
is.
speaking a Metroidvania in terms of map design and exploring and progression, but it is also very directive on exactly where you need to go.
Prince of the Universe seems to be on your side here, so he seems pretty excited about your choice.
Also, great art style.
And Ed, looks like your winner is unsighted, but what's your runner-up?
My runner-up is a game that I also haven't played, but I've heard very good things about the first game in the series, and I wanted to play it before it came out this summer, and it's Neo: The World Ends With You. A lot of people that have played the game have said it is a very, very good follow-up to that first game,
Isn't
and
it
also
technically a remake, or am I?
No, it's a
No, it's a
new
sequel.
game in that series.
Oh wow!
I have
Yeah.
tried
I totally
to buy that
misunderstood.
game. I can't get a physical copy.
I know, it's tough. So
Interesting choice.
Yeah.
So again, our winners in this last category were Wildermyth, 2 votes for Unsighted, Dodgeball Academia, Jet to the Far Shore, and Deedlit in Wonder Labyrinth. And that's going to do it for our second segment tonight. We're picking up the pace here a little bit. We're gonna keep slowly whittling it down until we finish it off. So, guys, if you're watching us live, when we come back from the break, we're gonna go over our the best debut, new IP, best looking game, best world and level design, and best storytelling. And let's see. Ed, why don't you set up your soundtrack for the break? Is that okay?
If
Chris
Chris if Chris is good with that, right?
Yeah,
Am I
just
good for
remind me
next?
what it is.
It's I will remind everyone what it is. These are 2 tracks from Bravely Default, which is a really by Revo is the artist that made all the songs, and the first one is a audio track from one of the like big boss battles that you do, and then the second one is when you activate the like Bravely Default mechanic or whatever with Elvis, one of the characters in the game.
Awesome. So that's Bravely Default 2 soundtrack, right?
Yep, that's right.
Cool. So when we come back, we'll do those other awards. In the meantime, enjoy playing us off. Well, we'll be playing off this segment with Ed's Soundtrack of the Year. And if you're watching us live, don't go anywhere because we got more awards when we come back. Welcome back to part 3 of our 2021 award show. In this segment, we're going to be doing best debut, or you could read that as new IP, best looking game, either aesthetically or technically, whatever it is, best world/level design, and best storytelling. This is some of my favorite categories here. So why don't we kick things off with our best debut? Brad, what is your runner-up?
I've come to really dislike best debut because I don't really understand it. I think it's something we should change in the future. But
Too late now. I mean, it's also hard to think about because I tend to think about best debut in terms of like, is this a debut as in like, is this franchise going to continue, or is this likely to be a one-off kind
I
of
sort
thing?
of like turned it into that to make it interesting, I guess. But really, it's just new IP, right?
Yeah,
Right,
or a new developer, right? Highlight
Well,
a
these
game
aren't
from
new
a new
developers.
developer.
But whatever. I'm going to name 2 indie
Yeah, yeah.
games that I really enjoyed this year that are new IP that I guess I'd appreciate more of. My runner-up is Chicory. I love that game and I love that world, and if I could spend more time in that world, I absolutely will. So please make a sequel. And
Can I ask a question, Brad? And I know this is your runner up, and we've already talked about it a little bit. I don't get it.
we'll get into it.
Like,
Don't
okay.
worry. And
Okay.
my
If Chicory comes up one more time tonight, just one more time,
we'll
I'm
get
buying
into
it.
it. You're the perfect audience for that too.
You talked me
Nolan.
out of it, you motherfucker.
No, not you.
No, he
Nick,
said
not
me,
you.
not you.
Oh,
You like tormented
it's
souls.
it's definitely not for me. Oh, I
Not
like
Nick.
tormented souls, so therefore I
But
can't like Chicory. Is that what
Aren't
you're
you
saying?
like
And
practicing like reverse psychology on Nick by telling him it's a game that's not for him?
no, I just wanted him to seek out something I knew he would appreciate more. That is all.
Like Tales from the Borderlands.
Well,
He
yeah.
went to art school.
Guardians of
Well,
the Galaxy was one,
design
Nick,
school,
that I thought you would
it's
like more, and it kind of broke my heart a little. Inscription is my winner for this category of
Hey,
new
that's also
IP.
my winner.
I don't know what that means, but I'll take some more Inscription buddies. It was pretty great.
If that game did anything with its concept, it kind of proved that you can do a lot of different things with it, because anybody who's played it knows that like the back
Give
half
me-
of that
give
game
me
looks
more
a little bit
acts.
different than the first
Give
half.
me more
My-
acts of
My
Inscription.
dream
Doesn't
is
it?
is that we get another Inscription. And it doesn't have to be Inscription, just another game that is like this that potentially is completely different. You know,
Inscriptions.
Nice. like, you know, similar to how like Sam Barlow has put out multiple games, each one kind of feeling the same, but at the same time not. And I'm
What you're saying
hoping.
is this has like
Mhm.
anthology vibes to it.
Yes, I very much want this to be an anthology, and that to have another game that feels, you get the same feeling, but it's completely different. And that I'm hoping we get something like that, because like Brad was saying, like Inscription is so unique.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
would I would
there's so
definitely be
much
down for that.
there's so much vibe wise that he pulls from Pony Island, and I think
Oh yeah.
Hex was his previous game, right? And like
Yeah, the heck.
it's just so it's great. It's a great video game for sure.
That is definitely a great choice. My
Not the
runner-up
last time you'll hear of it from me.
Yeah.
for sure.
Me too.
My runner-up for best debut is actually Deathloop. Um, like I said, I tend to think about this category in terms of like what is not only a new IP, but what has the potential for more. And Arcane has already proven that they return. They don't just do they sometimes do one-offs, but they also sometimes move on and do sequels to their franchise. Like Dishonored got a sequel, two sequels technically. Um, so I could see them doing more Deathloop, and I love the concept of Deathloop. I was disappointed by a few things, which we'll get to a little bit later in the show, with Deathloop, and I think it was a little sloppy in some of its like, especially its like like user experience. Like it's kind of its menu system is kind of a clusterfuck that I still didn't really know how to navigate by the time I was done with the game. But like the moment to moment stuff was great. Some of the story bits didn't land the way I wanted them to, but like it has so much potential and so much style to it that I could definitely see them revisiting this world and doing some cool stuff with it. But my winner, I think I'm going to give to Kena, Bridge of Spirits. Really cool indie game, beautiful fucking indie game. That also was surprisingly deep in its mechanics. In fact, I ended up playing it on hard on someone's recommendation, and I don't know if that ended up being a good decision or a bad decision. It ended up feeling a little like a Souls game at times when I was playing this game. The game is hard when you're playing it on the harder difficulties. Like the boss fights are incredibly punishing, and it is very timing oriented with your dodges and stuff, which was actually ended up making it way deeper than I was expecting. So really enjoyed it. Really just loved the atmosphere, the vibe to it. I think there's a lot of potential to kind of revisit it and make it, maybe bigger with another game. So yeah, Kena Bridge of Spirits is my winner. Nolan, what's your runner-up?
My runner-up for best new IP is Death's Door.
Yeah, this is an honorable mention for me.
Yeah, it's a really fun game. I think it has a lot of heart, and a lot of unique scenarios. I don't want to get into too much detail, but a lot of fun. Really enjoy that game. But my number one, I already said, was Inscription. So yeah.
Death's Door, I also considered that for comfort. I don't know if I mentioned it as an honorable mention, but for comfort food,
Yeah.
I can see it as
I think I
comfort
did.
food. Yeah,
It's just it's so chill. Like
It is.
even though it's hard, it's difficult sometimes. Like it's just super got a great vibe. Crispy, what's your runner up if you have one?
My runner up, I'm going to give to Wildermyth, because I think that game, it would be,
Honorable mention for me.
good if they made another one, right?
Yeah.
Maybe beefed it up, goosed it a little, if you will. And my winner for best debut new IP, I'm going to give to Deathloop. For very much the same reasons that Nick said. I would absolutely love to see more of this world, especially since what little teases we get of the world outside the island also seem intriguing.
Oh yeah.
There's definitely room for expansion there, and I think they're very aware of that. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if we see them revisit this.
If it sells
And
well.
Chris Davis, looks like you already updated your winner. You're
Yeah,
putting
my winner
Deathloop
was
as your winner.
Deathloop. And to what Chris was saying, like if you really kind of do it like a deep dive in the lore they're building there, and its direct connection to other arcade projects, like it is fucking exciting. But my runner up,
You love those connected universes.
I do, I fucking do.
There are other games that came out this year that have unexpected connections to other games in universes from the same developer, and although I don't want to mention them because potential spoilers, but
Yeah. And runner up real quick, Road 96. The French developer Digix Art is the one behind this, and this feels like their first like big hit. And the way they've built Road 96, it's got those character connections, but it has this framing story that really would lend itself to a sequel, if not more than one sequel.
fantastic. And Ed, what is your runner-up?
My runner-up is also Death's Door. The gameplay was great. I loved the kind of the boss battles were really cool too. Like lots of good stuff there. My winner, unsurprisingly, since I've talked about it so much, is Unsighted. I dove, like I said, dove right in, enjoyed it the whole way through, and such a really smart designed game from the developer. It made the little top that you get in that first dungeon or whatever is way cooler than the top from Twilight Princess, and you use it all the time.
Dude,
It's way cooler.
He's totally right.
You use
The
it all the
Twilight
time.
Princess top was sick as hell.
You can
Yeah, but you
jump
only
on
use it
water
for
with
one
it.
dungeon.
Yeah, you can use
yeah.
the top anywhere in the world in
Yeah.
Unsighted, which
And
is a game
it's really
changer.
cool. It's really cool zooming around. You can jump on water with it, which is super neat.
I didn't even know you could do that.
Yeah.
When I get
you
to that, I will appreciate it for what it is, even though
Okay.
it has nothing to do with the time mechanic.
Shut up, Brad.
So, yeah,
Brad's over here in the
it's-
break telling me that I shouldn't shame him for playing without the time mechanic. I didn't shame anybody. I just spoke my truth. That's all. So again, the winners we have in the category of best debut: 2 votes for Inscription, 2 votes for Deathloop, Unsighted, and Kena Bridge of Spirits. And our next category is best looking game. It's going to be aesthetic or artistic or technical, whatever floats your boat.
Looking. It's
Best
very broad.
looking game.
My runner-up
go
for
for it, Brian.
best looking game is Inscription Act 1, which I think is absolutely, like, in terms of like the look, the art style choices, like the atmosphere,
yes.
everything. It's just such an absolutely amazing game to look at. And
Inscription Act 3 was pretty cool too.
it has nothing on Act 1. It really doesn't, though. I mean, it gets back to where it's kind of good, but Act 1 is literally some of like the coolest looking shit I saw all year, and that's why it's my runner up. It's just dark and mysterious, and like the look of Leshy and like the masks and everything just looks so crazy
Yeah.
and amazing.
Good.
Game's so good. Yeah.
My winner for best looking game might be a little I don't mean to toot my own horn,
Oh
but
God,
my
here it comes.
favorite looking game of the year is Chicory. I think its art style, its
That's it, there it
coloring
is.
book art style by itself is really
So it
good. Like they have
begins.
really great looking characters, but the fact that I colored in that world and the characters and the
Oh my
outfits
goodness.
and
So
honestly, I
is now
really
when you
do.
sell me on it, Brad?
No, just
Okay.
wait.
Okay.
I'll sell you on it when you watch my game of the year video if we don't have time tonight. No, and I mean it. Even though it's a game where you can kind of color how things you want, the fact that like the different areas in the world restrict the color palette to like 4 different colors
Super smart,
means
right?
that no matter how much of a dunce you are as far as like an artist, like it'll still look nice. It still looks
it still
good
gives
because
you,
they
like,
have
the
really good
contrast,
color
right?
palettes. Yeah, really good contrast, really good color palettes. And they do things like when you go into caves, your paint kind of becomes like a glow, and that looks really nice. And it's a game where I mean, you really start to appreciate the look of it. And at the very end of the game, it does this thing where it'll show you it'll show you like a map of the world, like a big like zoomed out like Zelda style map, and it'll show you like gradually coloring in the whole world as like
Yeah.
a single like video, and you can even save that as a GIF of you coloring in the entire world as you played the game, and it's just really cool. I just absolutely adored the way that game looked by the end of it. And
But remember, it's not
'cause
for
of
me.
Not for Nick.
It's
Nick,
not for me.
okay, you're gonna have to let that go, dude. I seriously think it was like a choice between like I had mentioned you were like going on a trip, and I was talking about Chicory, and I think I mentioned Unsighted as something you might like because I knew you would probably like that more than Chicory. So I mean, so don't. I'm not saying never play it, but
Uh-huh.
not
Uh-huh.
everyone would appreciate it the same way.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I'm just teasing. All right, my runner up for best looking game. I'm gonna go one technical and one artistic. My runner up is Far Cry 6. Game is just a stunner, just technically stunning to look at. It really shines because it gets back to, like I said earlier, kind of being what Far Cry has been known for, which is big tropical islands and that kind of thing. And while I think other games in this franchise have certainly looked good, this one I think is easily one of the best looking games in the franchise. Uh, it has amazing weather effects and lighting. Like, oh my god, dude! And one of my favorite things about this game is the photo mode. And I know everyone's gonna laugh at that because I sink way too many hours into photo mode. But it does this thing where you turn on the photo mode and then it starts playing this like cool island tropical music, and you just get sucked into photo mode. And I've lost like 20 to 30 minutes at a time just dicking around in the photo mode, which is ridiculously expansive and great, and it just accentuates the world already. But yeah, man, that game is just a stunner. But my winner for best looking game is, for artistic purposes, Mundan. Indie horror game, entirely pencil drawn, like it's like literally hand drawn with a pencil. Has this really just cool monochromatic look to it. It's really hard to describe. You should watch footage of this. But it also has this like vibe to it that is just brought to life because of its artistic choice. It reminds me a lot of, if you want to compare it to like a movie, it reminds me a lot of like Midsummer, because it's like folk horror that takes place in broad daylight in the Swiss Alps. And but the pencil drawn art style just brings the whole thing to life in this really unique way, and I absolutely adore the way this game looks. So yeah,
Definitely.
Mundan.
It looks crazy.
Nolan, what's your runner up?
My runner-up for best looking game is going to be The Artful Escape. Not only because obviously it looks pretty, it is a combination of that and the way the game kind of changes as you progress. And I think they did a very good job of this kind of being a 2.5D game in which you're not often kind of going into the third dimension. You do a couple of times, but even when you're not, what happens behind you and in front of you is still, it's clearly this, there was a lot of heart put into the design of the worlds. Let me put it that way. There are definitely times when I play games and I'm like, clearly the person who made this art, while not untalented, was not an artist. There was a lot of love put into this world, and I really enjoyed it. But my winner for best looking game is going to go to Inscription, and Inscription.
Yeah,
I'll put it that way.
I know. I see what you did there. Yeah.
Well played. Well played.
But specifically Act 1. Especially Act 1.
Act 1 is very good.
Specifically, Inscription.
Yes,
Stop.
specifically Inscription. Yes.
Good choices. I notice, Chris Davis, you haven't entered my choice for my winner.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I did.
He doesn't know how to spell it.
Well,
I was about to make the joke. I was like, does he not know how to spell it?
His winner was Mundane.
Oh, how dare you! How dare you, Nolan?
no, what was that? Sorry?
Mundan, Mundaun.
There we go.
It is
Okay.
it is
That's
an
what I
odd
said.
name. How dare you? All right, Crispy, what's your runner up for best looking game?
My runner-up for best looking game is Inscription, because that game looks pretty cool. My winner is
You're killing me.
no, it just got really quiet. I was like, what's happening? My winner is Final Fantasy 14.
I knew it.
Walker. It looks so cool. There's multiple new areas of this game where the first time I saw them, I went, like, I gasped. I was like, oh my god, this looks so cool. Ah! Labyrinthos is so cool. The new the new armor looks cool, new weapons look cool, the fucking bunny boys look cool, like everything looks great. It's such a good game.
You
A
I'm
had
so
me
feast,
at
glad we
Bunny
got one. I'm
Boys.
so
a
glad we got
feast
one of
for the
Crispy's.
senses.
I'm so glad we
A
got one of
feast
Crispy's
for
signature screams.
Yeah, we tested his noise gate and it works great.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
I don't know. I don't know if that's gonna come across in the audio, but whatever. We'll make it work.
uh,
It's good.
my character looks
Um,
awesome.
It's kind of surprising
uh,
that Brad, being the MMO player he is, that he didn't have that as a runner up.
Brad got
for
really serious
best
looking all of a
looking.
sudden.
Come on.
It looks great. It looks so good.
We'll get to Final Fantasy 14.
Chris Davis, what's your runner-up?
For best looking, I think generally art style. When I think of that, runner up is Deedlit and Wonder Labyrinth again.
That
But
is a great
Cool,
looking
cool.
game.
that is the one thing. That's the first thing people say when they talk about this game, is that this is a gorgeous looking game.
Watch a trailer for that game.
Yeah, watch
It's
a
a
trailer. You're gonna. It's this very nice flowing 16, almost 16-bit art style, which is very just gorgeous animations.
Can confirm, does look good.
Yeah, really, really good. And again, since I think art style my winner, I'm kind of infatuated with Deathloop's art style. That kind of pseudo 60s.
Seems like it's from your
70s.
era. What?
You call me an old soul, an old man?
No,
I think he was
Charleston
calling you
shoes
an
are
old
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
Charleston
I,
Cheers.
I second this. Deathloop was an honorable mention for me because the color palette they went with and the especially like the enemy design. Like, man, it's the masks and the '60s vibe. Yeah, I love it.
I forget who was the lead artist on the project. Wasn't it the guy who worked on Dishonored and Half-Life 2, right? Anton something or other?
Yeah,
Sounds
I know who you're
familiar.
talking about.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly his name, but
I mean, it's this game definitely has the kind of signature arcane. Like, I could pick this out of a lineup as like, oh, that's definitely an arcane game for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
All
All right.
Or Ed.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry. Ed.
Best looking game for me, runner up was Metroid Dread. Very distinct environments, and they all looked incredibly beautiful. And then my winner is Kena Bridge of Spirits. It looks like a Pixar movie, and it is incredibly well rendered models and all that stuff. And I guess they're pre-rendered cutscenes or whatever that they injected into the game are like also incredibly beautiful. So just a
But like,
all around.
it's also cool because like the line between the gameplay and those pre-rendered cutscenes is still pretty thin.
Yeah, you can't really tell the difference, but it's like you can. There's just a little bit there that you can tell it's pre-rendered, but it looks very much like the gameplay.
Do you think there's going to be a day? So, like for example, and sorry to kind of go slightly off topic. We talked briefly earlier about Psychonauts 2. In anticipation for it, I played the original Psychonauts, and while the game looks great, the cutscenes look like dog shit.
Yeah.
Because they're like in the first one. Sorry, yes.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I played the first one in anticipation of the second one. Yeah, they're pre-rendered like not even 480p. They're like 360p cutscenes.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Do you think in like 15 years you're going to be playing a version of Kena that looks amazing and like the cutscenes are going to look horrible in comparison?
Yeah, probably.
I would think so. I do think there's a level of diminishing returns, though, right? Like,
for sure, there definitely is.
Like
for sure.
once you get to like 1080 to 4K like level, you kind of like reach a level of diminishing returns. But there's probably
I've definitely done some side by sides of 1080p and 4K, and there's definitely a difference.
But like, but like the cutscenes you're talking about, like the 480p shit, like it was almost like painful to look at. Like it almost hurts your eyes. I like, even if you can notice the difference more readily in like 15 years,
we'll be using robot eyes in 15 years, so we'll definitely be able to.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll be physically hurting our eyes to look at. Maybe I'm wrong. All right, so winners that we have in the best looking game category are Chicory, Mundan, Inscription, Final Fantasy XIV, Endwalker, Deathloop, and Kena Bridge of Spirits.
Real
Again,
quick, an honorable
You
mention
forgot to
that
mention Inscription, Nick.
and Inscription.
real quick,
Yes.
an honorable mention that I think looks really, really amazing, even though it's very simple, is XO1. Again,
That's the
Nick's
second
never
time
heard
you've
of it.
mentioned this. I
That's
don't even know what it
pretty
is. How do
cool.
you? Is it like?
EXO
Oh,
ONE XO1. It looks
oh.
amazing. Very, very atmospheric. Great vibes.
I have
What's
no idea
next,
what
Nick?
this game is, but it is cool. Okay, sorry. That's a good question. What is next? Best world / level design. Speaks for
Ooh.
itself. Go, Brad. Go.
My runner-up is Psychonauts 2. I talked a little bit about it before, but of course the level design is very unique once you get into like people's heads, people's minds.
This is
But
actually my winner.
special nod to the actual like world design outside of people's minds. It's very like large and developed, and there's a lot of stuff to do, much more than in the first game, and I really, really appreciated that. And it was very fun to 100% this game, get all the collectibles, all the
Yeah,
figments
for
and
sure.
everything. Just really, really fun to
Some of my
world to do
favorite
that in.
environments of the entire year was like specifically like the wooded area in the
Mhm.
overworld, and like explore like where your family is the
Yeah,
Mhm.
is
that's
living.
absolutely one of the best parts of that game.
So cool.
My
Yeah,
my
I
winner
echo everything Brad said.
for best world and level design, which I said earlier that I would explain why I think it's one of the best games no one played, is Astalon Tears of the Earth. It is my favorite level design and world design of the year. It is a Metroidvania. It is my favorite Metroidvania of the year, and I think one of the best strengths of this game is how it has this like very elaborate intricate level design that you kind of have to like chip away at as you go. You got to play carefully and you chip away at by unlocking little shortcuts here and there. Like even a shortcut on a single screen just feels like a victory once you finally like hit that button and be like, okay, I don't have to go through like this really tough stuff over again. But then they have like shortcuts on a more massive scale when you start unlocking like elevators and teleports and secret walls, and my god, I love secrets in games and I love exploration in games, and this game has the best secrets of the year, and all different kinds of like secrets, like hidden walls and like, oh wait, what does this do? Does this do what I think it does? Like really, really amazing level design that you really feels super rewarding, like just unraveling the intricacies of this world. Absolutely one of the best games I played this year because the exploration was so good. It was another game I 100%ed, and it was super rewarding 100%ing this game because within that world there's like hidden characters and hidden power-ups and abilities that you got to find, and it's all so rewarding to like uncover some really, really devious hidden shit. And every time you find a secret, it's like, oh, I can't believe this is even here. This is crazy. So yeah, Astalon, if you like a Metroidvania with like really good platforming and like well thought out like level design, like this is highly, highly recommended. You know, if Metroid Dread's leveled one way, you know, can't go back level design, no freedom of exploration level design kind of bother you, try Astalon because it's pretty exceptional.
That's a last minute dig there at Metroid Dread. I never felt that way about it, but
I thought it
maybe
was
maybe
Brad's
it's because
number one game of all time at this point.
maybe it's because I don't have the point of reference for Astalon, but sounds interesting. Um, my runner up is, since my winner is Psychonauts 2, so I echo everything Brad said. My runner up is actually going to be Bowser's Fury, Super Mario 3D World Bowser's Fury, specifically
Hey, that's
because
also my runner-up.
oh, look at that. Specifically because, it's Mario's. It does feel like a testing ground for maybe what they're gonna do next on a bigger scale for Mario,
It's
which is
Mario meets Breath of the Wild.
yeah,
It's kind of one of the first
on a
times
smaller
we've
scale.
seen. Well, sorry, that's why I said meets Breath of the Wild. It is the first time we've seen, since, and I don't even want to say like Odyssey, because obviously Odyssey you're going to different areas. It's one of the first times we've seen Mario where it's like the entire area, you're just in it.
Yeah,
Like
it's like all the
here it
levels.
is.
It's like imagine Mario Galaxy or even Mario 64, where instead of having to jump through a painting to go to a world, everything kind of coexists in one open space. And like seeing how that changed their approach to level design was just really fascinating. And it immediately made me think, man, I want a Mario game where the whole concept is like this. Like this obviously was kind of developed and kind of shoehorned into the re-release of 3D World as kind of just a let's see how people feel about this. So I would be shocked if the next Super Mario game is announced and it doesn't look in some way, shape, or form like Bowser's Fury.
But I think one of the most like unique things about this world and how they handle it is it's not quite twice as large, but kind of, because whenever Bowser starts to rain terror down on the world, the entire world changes. Day
Yeah.
becomes night. All of a sudden, there's new structures that weren't there before. Like the way you kind of interact with everything changes, and that's how you solve some of the puzzles and stuff. Is you have to wait till he comes out, and now I can get to this area that I couldn't get to before because Bowser is like wrecking havoc and stuff like that.
Right.
And I then also as well similar like I get and the reason I get Katamari vibes is think of like an OG Katamari when you start and you're picking up like erasers and thumbtacks, and then at the end you're literally picking up islands. It feels like that because when you start you're Mario, you're small, whatever, but then you get like the giant bell and then you're the giant cat, and all of a sudden an island before now looks like a small rock next to you because you become.
This is a weird
Mhm.
aside, but I 100%ed Bowser's Fury as well, and
Mhm.
it wasn't until the final boss fight when I realized this is just taking too long that you could pick up those like pillars and throw them at Bowser. I played the
Oh, dude.
entire game not knowing you could do that.
Yeah, dude.
That's like
Yeah.
Ripper mode.
Literally, I only
It's-
did damage when he went through his cycle and he fell like upside down or whatever, and I butt
I
stomped
will
him.
say it took me a couple of tries before I realized that you could interact with that stuff. But yeah, the game didn't do a good job of letting you know. But yeah, such a
Yeah,
good game.
that's a good one. Was that was your runner up, right?
That was my runner up. Yeah,
What's your winner?
my winner is Subnautica Below Zero.
Mm.
It's one of those things where obviously the first Subnautica was amazing, but this one follows suit in that early on in the game, when you're completely lost, you have no idea where anything is, you're kind of worried about even getting back to your little just like escape pod. But as the game progresses, you realize, it's not like randomly generated. There is some randomly generated stuff, but for the most part the actual world structure itself is the same in everyone's game. But that being said, you start to learn things. You start to learn, oh, there's that one structure, I know where I am. Especially because while you do have potential stuff on your HUD that's like, oh, this is where my base is. If you're not traveling around with like beacons, you can kind of lose things in the world, and they can be hard to find. What's going on, Ed?
Uh, Subnautica Below Zero is my winner as well.
Nice.
I wanted to echo everything you said. I did think that the overworld sections were like fairly good. Like fair, like considering how bad they were in the first game, like the fact that they were like serviceable to good is like a huge
We're talking
improvement.
about anything above the water,
Yeah,
Correct.
right?
above water,
Yeah.
right?
Eight flowers.
A lot more happens above water in this game than it does in the first one.
Right. Yeah.
And some pretty intriguing stuff too. And
Yeah.
you're having to manage like your cold levels, like because you're
Right.
obviously everything is snowy and ice covered.
I like the sea truck. I think I liked the what they call the Cyclops better.
Cyclops.
Yeah, but the sea truck was a cool like little mix of the Cyclops.
I think it's a pro and a con. I
Yeah.
think it's the con with the Cyclops was fucking massive. It was huge, and so often I would be ramming into walls and stuff.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
the pro with the sea truck is I would carry all of my like expansions out somewhere, then I would detach them all and just have
Right.
the mini one or maybe one or two, and then go kind of deep down exploring, and then I could go back up to the rest of them and have my extra supplies and stuff. So I could almost like it was almost like a mobile base that could even become more mobile.
I didn't realize it slowed you down having like more modules for a while until I like detached it one time and I was zooming around. Everyone's like, "Oh, it makes you really slow." Okay, that's
You
annoying.
motherfuckers.
I just like
I
the way
started.
they make
You know what?
the way they make you problem solve in that game using the different vehicles and the tools and stuff. It's all pretty smart.
I love Subnautica, the original,
Sure.
a lot, and I started playing Below Zero, but I let people talk me into saying, "Oh, I should just leave on the thirst and hunger meter," even though I didn't play that way in the original, even though that game was still amazing without it. People were so convincing, saying, "No, it's not a problem. There's so much cool stuff around thirst and hunger." And I knew it. I knew it in the first game, and I should have known better now that it's just one of those things, like the timer in Unsighted. It's one of those things that I have a very, very hard time with, just on a personal level. It's just this constant ticking timer that's just making the game less pleasurable for me. And you can't turn. I don't know why
So
Subnautica does
that's the
not let you
problem,
flip it on the
and
fly. But
I'll
I
say
started
that,
playing a
Brad.
few hours into this game, and the thirst and hunger meter it kept bothering me, and I just stopped playing the game.
That's a
It's
bummer.
frustrating that they don't let you turn that off. I currently all that I played of it, I obviously because you can't turn it off. I've had it on, and I will say that something that has helped was I modded my game so that some of my lockers were bigger, so I could carry
Yeah,
more
I
easily,
got it on
which definitely
PS5.
helped.
I
Yeah,
remember this
when it is
conversation.
honestly the reason I got it on PC and not PS5 is because I heard there are mods that you can, a normal locker holds like 20 things or something,
Yeah,
and it's like so small. And so I got it to where they would hold it. Well, like you can make them not to an infinite, but you can make them fairly large. I didn't make them an insane amount. Like I definitely had times where I would go out exploring and run out of space. But I made it just a little bit bigger so that it wasn't so frustrating.
And your
Think of something
toolbar.
like yeah, I made my toolbar bigger, which is like fucking like a miracle.
right, right.
But it's like those little quality of life things. It's like playing something like a Fallout or a Witcher, when your weight limit is so low and you pick up like four things and it's like, oh fuck, now I got to manage this stuff. It's just one of those things that kind of makes it a little bit easier while still having the hunger and thirst meter. I was able to manage it a little bit better. So while it's still something that's going on in my mind, I still had to make sure I was cooking fish and getting water and stuff like that. It wasn't like the end of the world. But
Yeah.
Right. All right. Crispy. Runner up. Best
Got it.
world level design.
Best world level design. Holy fuck. What are we in? Part 3 of 5?
Yes.
Okay.
You got this, Crispy.
Okay. I'm gonna give my runner up to Monster Hunter Rise
Yes,
because,
this was
as I
almost
said earlier, yeah, I think that like the addition of the wire bug, part of what made that so successful was kind of like a reevaluation of how they design their biomes, like their levels, which in Rise were made to be very vertical and to have a lot of fun, cool things that you could find by only using the wire bug and encouraging exploration, without making it like overly cumbersome.
it's
You
so
know,
good.
so good. It's just beautiful. There's so many times playing that game too where it's like I know the quickest way to get to the monster is to hop on my Palamute and ride there, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna go on foot and use my wire bug to climb over just because I want to see, I want to pick up notes or like cool account items or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah, I don't know. It's just really good at shaking up something that could have been
Huge step
really,
forward for the series,
yeah, yeah,
honestly.
yeah.
No going back
Um
now.
yeah, and this is coming off of Monster Hunter World where it was like you were lucky to get a mount after 100 hours of play, and that mount was like an automatic shuttle. It just took you somewhere. You didn't get to control it. Like, so I don't know. My winner though, I'm gonna give it to Deathloop. Not just because I think the actual like maps are really fun and interesting, and it was always really like engaging to move through that space, but also because I just kind of like the look and the feel of everything. This weird kind of like quasi 60s sci-fi alternate reality kind of vibe that they have going on is really super cool. A lot of like mod and punk influences in there.
Yeah, I mean they're partying the whole time, right?
Yeah,
So
it-
Yeah,
You're
it's
you're
such a
essentially
letting
huge,
loose.
you're essentially
yeah.
like invading like some 60s drug fueled
I mean,
party
Yeah.
all the
I
time.
love that like one of the levels, like one of the areas is just like the dude that's a game designer turned a house into a fucking like
Yeah.
into a
Like
LARP game, and it's basically
Mhm.
like Among Us, like
Yeah.
so
which
good.
is really cool.
And each level changes throughout the day, and you
Yeah,
unlock new
yeah,
Yeah.
new visions of what's there. Yeah.
yep. It's great.
Wow.
It's really cool.
A lot of really cool ideas there for sure. Chris Davis, what's your runner-up?
Runner up, because we need to speed up.
He says so
Is
slowly.
I had to pull up my thing. Is Resident Evil Village. There is a
Yeah.
lot of character in everywhere you go in that game, and
Yep.
I don't necessarily agree with the hub style world that they went with, but what
Hey,
they
that's one of the
did,
cooler parts.
That's my favorite thing about the world design, to be honest.
but what they built out of that those branching paths that have completely different themes to them.
The wagon wheel.
It's a wagon wheel. And it's put together really, really well.
My favorite level design in that game is actually some of the little one-off side areas in the hub place that are optional. That, like, through like a little grassy path, and you're like, "Whoa, what is this whole thing?" There's
Yeah.
a few of them in the game. That's really, really cool.
Yeah.
Right.
Especially when you get the paddle boot that you can go around and explore with.
Yeah.
My winner, Hitman 3. Hitman 3 is probably the best map and world design of that trilogy. And it just fucking hits its stride. Every
Aside from the
single
train.
The train is what it is. You can't do much with a fucking train.
Facts.
Really.
Facts.
But no,
They tried though.
they did try. They did what they could,
Yeah.
and it is what it is. But no, the Apex Predator, the Knives Out mansion, just like
Would that level
so much
exist
good
if
stuff.
Knives Out didn't exist? Because everybody mentions Knives Out when that
So I think
comes
the
up.
reason they mention it is just because it's so fresh on their minds. It is very
Yeah.
much like a Clue, an Agatha Christie kind of style, old school like murder mystery thing.
Yeah.
I think Knives Out is just a new spin on that. It's definitely not like the first time something like that's been done.
Right.
Though.
It's like a Poirot story.
Exactly. Hercule Poirot.
All
All right, Ed. We already know your winner is Subnautica Below Zero, but what is your runner-up?
My runner-up is a game called Maquette. I don't know if you
Oh,
guys
yeah.
are familiar with it, but
Mhm.
it is a
Chris
first
Davis doesn't
person
know how to spell it.
Yeah.
Doesn't look, I can tell.
MACQUETTE.
Wow, that is not what I would have guessed.
Yeah, it's French. So it is a first-person puzzler where everything you do in the game affects the outer game just at a bigger scale. So imagine you have like a marble or something that you're holding in your hand. When you drop it, a bigger marble drops outside of the little maquette that you're in, and it's like an infinite loop basically. It keeps getting bigger and it keeps getting smaller, and you're doing things like in the micro to affect the macro and vice versa, and it's just a really cool like little puzzler that I played earlier this year. So very well designed
Awesome.
puzzle game.
There's always room for those little indie puzzle games for sure.
Yep.
All right. So our winners in Best World / Level Design is Astalon: Tears of the Earth, Psychonauts 2, Subnautica Below Zero, Deathloop, Hitman 3, and Subnautica Below Zero. And
Quick
our last
honorable
category.
mentions. Quick
Oh,
honorable
yeah.
mention. I just want to say Chicory Rise and Bowser's Fury for me.
For sure. Unsighted for me, definitely. Honestly, I would have put Unsighted as my
Oh,
runner-up,
sentences. Oh,
except for I wanted to make sure I got a chance to talk about Bowser's Fury. But yeah, Unsighted for sure is one of the best.
Yeah,
world designs.
the Outer Wilds expansion echoes of the eye for me, as well as the Forgotten City. I think the
I was gonna say Forgotten
the world
City.
there,
Yeah.
the world there is really cool.
And I do really appreciate the wagon wheel design of Resident Evil Village quite a bit. It reminded me a little bit of like Dark Souls 2, how that's kind of a divisive world. Like that's the wagon wheel design as well, and I think it was very divisive for the same reason. But I think it works for Resident Evil Village about as good as it worked for Dark Souls. So, all right, our last category for this segment is best storytelling. All right, runner up, Brad, go.
Oh man, this is tough because this is probably the one I had written the most down for. So narrowing it down was tough. My runner up for best storytelling, I'm gonna go with Unpacking. It is a game that is about unpacking boxes and putting stuff in various rooms of a house, and that's literally all you do. There's no like talking to anyone. There's no like text, to read about what's going on. You have to figure out. It's all what is it called? Environmental storytelling, right? And
Right.
Context.
yeah, and you learn about this person throughout like the course of her life through her different moves, and the relationships she has, and where she is in life just through unpacking her boxes. And that's like a crazy way, ambitious way to tell a story, and it's really cool and effective and kind of emotional. Honestly, it probably maybe have been my winner if they did a little more, got a little more ambitious with it. I thought that was really, I wanted it to be more about capitalism, but it wasn't. It was more about relationships and stuff and
All
life.
that dumb shit.
But I want really, what I wanted her to do is unpack the box and then move into the box because she lives in the box, because fuck capitalism. But whatever. It's a really cool short game that does something I think really innovative in terms of like storytelling. But my favorite, uh,
This is just a very subtle reminder that we said 2 sentences for runners up.
yeah, but I mean I mean
I know.
it's a
I know.
game that isn't gonna get that. I
Just
mean
be
that's it
remiss if
for
we didn't
that's
remind
it for
people
that game.
occasionally.
That was that game's last and only mention. My favorite game of the year, and again I mentioned it earlier that I would explain why, and that's because it wins my award for storytelling, and that's Wildermyth. Wildermyth is the narrative Legos that Ken Levine's been trying to make for
Wow.
10,
Yeah.
10 plus years. Um, Honestly, I have talked about this on the podcast before. It's kind of like an XCOM style game, right? Because it is a tactical RPG where you have characters and you move them around and you get into fights and they can die and stuff. But you have all these little story vignettes that you make lots of choices in from your party members, which have all these personality traits, and that affects their dice rolls in these events. And as these events have significant impacts on like who your characters become, right down to
Yeah.
like the way it can affect their personality, to like the stuff they do in battle. And it's like significant shit. Like you'll have a bad dice roll in an event, and all of a sudden you're slowly over the course of like multiple campaigns turning into some like horrible rock golem monster. And like that, the story of that character is like the story of your game. I compared it to like XCOM. Actually see this comparison a lot, right? You know how you really get attached to like your XCOM characters as you play an XCOM campaign, right? Because every little thing that happens to them in battle and between battles is like the little, it's the story of your squad that you're putting together in your head. And with if say your sniper misses one too many shots, right? That sort of becomes his story. And that shit happens in Wildermyth, but it has these events that like that are randomly generated. They're not randomly generated, but like the way they pop up is like random, right? It's procedurally generated, and it 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 creates the story for these characters and the relationships they have, and which will change as these stories evolve. And through multiple campaigns you'll have like this little farmer who decides to join your team, who becomes over like multiple campaigns just like a living legend. And they get older and they have kids and they retire, right? But through like later campaigns they can come back into the story and you can end up recruiting them. But they're no longer this fighter, I mean this farmer. They're like this living legend who's now on your team, who you've been on campaigns with. But these newer characters that you're playing with are like her fucking grandkids and stuff. And it's just it's such a cool game. Through like procedural generated storytelling, you start to care so much about these characters and their relationships, and the fact that my once amazing archer who was sniping fools across from the one side of the map is now like a lumbering rock golem who's now my best tank because I failed a bad dice roll early on in her story. And I mean that shit's amazing. It really is a game that I've told people to play, and a lot of people have dabbled in it, but it's a game that rewards you the more you play as you take
A very
multiple campaigns.
intimidating start, right?
It's an intimidating start, but
Yeah.
as you go on multiple campaigns with these characters and their kids, and they become legends, you start to appreciate the story and the world and your characters and their legacies so much more. So I encourage people, if they've tried it because they heard me talk about it on the podcast earlier in the year, if you've only played a few hours, I can see my Steam friends list, I know how much I'll play, damn it. Give it another
He's
dozen
watching you.
hours. Give it another dozen hours. I promise you, it'll be worth it, and you'll understand why it's my
When
favorite
when I said I
storytelling of the
wanted to
year.
be on this podcast, Brad literally was like, "You need to play more Wilder Myth before you can come on the podcast."
I never want to have to say you have to do that for a game, right? Because that's unfair.
Yeah.
It's like, well, the game should have sold me. But no, this is a game about legacy, and it takes time to build that legacy.
Yep.
You just have to trust me. It's got great writing, great story moments. You got to
All right,
give it a
Brad.
chance,
Cool.
another chance.
That was a bit long, but I'm going to allow it because you're passionate, and it was a good argument for
That
playing.
was-
Now we all
this was
have
the
10
pitch for that
seconds
game.
to go through our own.
All right, I'm gonna be quick. My runner-up is Returnal. It does some really cool stuff story-wise. Like I said, it's kind of a science fiction horror game, but like it does the whole looping through time thing and really interesting thing. And then about halfway through it, you hit this moment, and you like it's just this like brain melting, like, oh my god, I can't believe that just happened. And then the game keeps going, and that's obviously a moment I don't want to spoil for anybody. But the story implications
I've seen
were
that.
just,
I've seen that moment, and it's very cool.
it is very, very cool. But my winner, and this is best storytelling in just the most basic sense. But Guardians of the Galaxy is just such a well written, well acted, straightforward story. The gameplay, I'm kind of like whatever. It's serviceable. It's fine. But like, I love these characters. And I think Crispy said this at one point, and but like playing Guardians of the Galaxy made me realize how kind of indifferent I am to Chris Pratt as Star-Lord. And I understand what he's talking about now, because the Star-Lord here in this game is fantastic. Mantis is one of my favorite characters of the year.
You are spoiling categories that we have yet
I'm
to come.
sorry. There's just so many good characters, and they're all so fucking good, and the story goes to wild places. So yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy is straight up one of the best stories of
I
the year
agree.
for
It's
me.
an honorable mention for me.
Guardians of the Galaxy
right.
is also my winner.
Boom, there we go. See, look at this. We're knocking out, so we're knocking them out. All right, Nolan, what's your runner?
I'm sorry, y'all. Sometimes a game feels like it needs an extra pitch.
We totally get it.
It's on my
No.
wish list now, Brad. My runner-up for best storytelling is going to be Inscription. And
My
it's going to
runner-up?
be Inscription for
Honorable
some
mention.
reasons I can't necessarily go into.
Yeah, right.
Is the problem. It's one of those games that's very hard to talk about, to try and sell someone without kind of giving away the reason it made such an impact on you.
There is there's like a whole aspect of this game. And I know I think you're probably more alluding to like the way things kind of change like halfway through it or some point, but like there's a whole other aspect of this game storytelling wise that I didn't see coming.
Yeah, right. Yes,
With videos.
Yeah,
You know what I
with
mean?
the
It's
video.
not-
Yeah,
This
It's
entire
there's a lot.
I mean, that's
No,
That's the
even
whole-
even internal to the game.
yes.
Like I said, I don't want to spoil things, but every
There's
aspect of
spoilers
this
are going to
game
happen
is very
because we
good.
got
No,
categories
I
that
know, I know they will, and I might spoil some stuff about this later. But for now, I'm going to leave
say
it
a
there.
word that's like a hint as to what we're talking about.
Sure.
I would say the continue button. The fact that you did not get the new game button at the beginning is a good example of kind of
Yes.
where we're going with that.
Yeah.
Sure. The word I was going to mention, just as like if somebody has no idea what we're talking about or hasn't played the game, like there's a whole like Blair Witch Project aspect to this
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Without saying
Yep.
any more about it, that should be intriguing. I feel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
But then my winner is going to be the Forgotten City.
And that's also
Yeah.
my winner.
honorable
Yeah,
mention for me.
Yeah, it's something that I honestly didn't even start playing until like a week ago. But every new rock I like turn over in this game, just
Yeah.
just so much more information, and there's so much more. The way you approach a situation a second time changes things, and the fact that information is not only retained for you but the player. I'm trying to not talk about spoilers, but just how they handle all of that. And there was a very interesting moment for me, and I'm gonna kind of get into spoilers.
Biggest moment?
It's not one of my best moments of the year, but it's definitely up there. It's an honorable mention. There was this guy, and I guess slight spoilers for Forgotten City for maybe the next 45 seconds.
Not hilarious, is it?
No, it's not Galerius.
Okay.
And I don't remember how to pronounce his name. But there's a guy who's about to like. This is kind of before I got the hitch of the game, so I didn't realize what was happening. And there was a guy who was like, "I can't take it anymore. I'm gonna jump off this
Oh
cliff,"
yeah.
and I was like, "Do it." And then he did, and I was like, no, I didn't mean it. I'm sorry." But that was kind of before I understood what was going on, and it was just this kind of moment where I was like, "Fuck!" And like the next time you have a chance to talk with someone, one of the responses is like, "Did I do that? Like, is this my fault?"
Yeah.
And it's just kind of thing that unfolds that like I didn't kind of realize what was going on. And the other part that, and I this kind of, I thought about having this for kind of like, I don't know, like gameplay experience, was like the whispers
Yeah.
in this
Mhm.
game, that kind of like almost you miss sometimes because
Yeah.
they're very quick, and something, they'll just say something and you're like, wait, what? Because it was right after that moment where it said follow him, and I was like, what the fuck are
Yeah.
you talking about?
Yeah.
And I missed it at first, and I was like,
What?
wait, what? Did you not have that, Nick?
No.
Yeah,
So
I
that's one of
mean,
the unique things about this game as well, is there's a different way to solve the puzzle that I solved
Yep.
by following him.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, the game is so
Yeah.
good.
It's
All right.
very good. I mean, there's a lot to be said about the narrative structure. Obviously, I do think like just the general like world and story around it is really interesting. I will.
The conceit, when you figure out what's actually happening,
Yeah.
the conceit is
Yes.
really
Yes.
cool too.
And then like the interaction, and I'm trying very hard not to spoil the interaction with the Egyptian.
Yes.
Is like an incredibly like powerful and meaningful like exchange that you have with him, and like you just realize that the stories of the world, the real world, the Earth, are all built off each other, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the idea that like religions and like storytelling and cultures and all this stuff are built off of each other, and it like we're way more interconnected than we really are. Like that kind of stuff really spoke to me, I think, more than the game really wanted it to, you know.
Yeah. For sure. For sure. Man, that's a cool game. I'm really glad I found time
Yeah.
to play that. You're right. That's a damn good story. Crispy, what's your runner-up and winner for best storytelling?
My runner-up for best storytelling, I'm going to give it to Guardians of the Galaxy
Hell
for
yeah.
a lot of the same reasons that you already mentioned, Nick. I love it. I think it was a really good story, really well acted, wonderful stuff. My winner for best storytelling 2021 obviously goes to Final Fantasy 14 Endwalker. It was incredible.
I was already typing it.
I cried. It cured my depression. It was insane.
Both caused and cured.
Caused it's like it's like being a fucking depressed 16-year-old watching Evangelion for the first time and being like, oh my god, somebody like gets it, you know? Like it's insane, man. You're just like, oh fuck, man. Just like fuck.
That is
Fuck! Like such a good like hundreds of hours with these characters. Hundreds of hours invested in this story, and where's it going? All the threads, everything, like who's here? What's going on? What's happening? And then it's just like I'm sobbing. It's like I'm crying tears because it's so beautiful. Just like, oh my god. Like I
hearing
love
hearing such emotion and passion about this, and still trying to wrap my head around how an MMO is delivering that
how
level.
does
It's
it
just
get,
still blowing.
like how do you take a character and you just like you feel like that their entire purpose is to cause pain and misery and death, and you just hate them from the bottom of your heart, and then you spend 100 hours with them and you're just like, I would fucking die for you, it's just like oh my god, we're all just hoping for a better world, you know? We're all just hoping for a better world.
So to quickly
I love the passion.
maybe add on to that, and I'm fairly certain that that's something I would get out of playing that, which is once again a reason I don't. But one of the kind of things I get in the emotions and the thought I always have when I think of MMOs is if anybody's seen the WoW episode of South Park, where there's this guy who for some reason is super overpowered and leveled and keeps killing all their characters and have to build new characters. So they train up just killing boars over and over and over again. It's like weeks and weeks and months and months and months. And then they finally are able to take him down. And they're like, well, what do we do now? Well, now the game. But that's like that's the feeling I get from like Final Fantasy like 14. And like it's like one of those things where it's you could spend hundreds of hours doing this, and it's like, well, what's next? Well,
I mean, it does, it like, and the whole thing ends on this like really hopeful note of like, this feels like the end of a story. This feels like the end of the chapter, but it's like, hey, there's another adventure just over the horizon. Like just sit for a moment and like be still and be okay with the closure that we've gained, and just like know that a new adventure is coming tomorrow, or someday in the future. And it's just like, I'm sorry. I'm gonna talk
Oh,
on that.
I love it. I fucking love it. I
Like,
love that passion.
it's so therapeutic and cathartic. It was just like, oh,
You can say it. You can say fuck one more time.
fuck, man.
There we go. There it is. Okay. So any honorable mentions? I want to throw out Mundan.
So many.
I think has a really cool story.
I
especially
would
in
like
a
to
horror
throw out
game.
that my runner up is Road 96.
Oh,
No
fuck, I'm sorry.
sentences. Oh, runner up. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm so
sentences.
sorry. I thought they were both filled in. My apologies. Road 96.
I've said everything I need to say about this game. It's a good game.
Runner up
Fantastic.
for Outer Wilds expansion once again.
Yeah.
Was that a runner up or?
Yeah. No. Honorable mention. Sorry.
Honorable
Just letting it-
mentions are Inscription, The Forgotten City, Before Your Eyes, Psychonauts 2, Chicory, and The Great Ace Attorney Chronicles.
Man,
Damn. Life
Inscription,
is Strange, True
absolutely.
Colors was also a standout for me this year. All right. Quick recap for best storytelling. We got Wildermyth, Guardians of the Galaxy, The Forgotten City, Final Fantasy XIV, Endwalker. A lot of agreement there in that category. So, guys, we're going to take another break. When we come back, we're doing best new character, best new enemy design, best boss fight, and best video game moment. And why don't Crispy? Why don't you set up your choice for
One.
soundtrack of the year?
Oh, my choice of soundtrack for
Yeah, what could it be?
2021 was Final Fantasy XIV Endwalker, and I hope you'll understand why when you listen to this track, because this takes place during like the absolute climax of the story. Like, this is kind of like a huge boss fight. I don't know if we're showing video. Don't worry if we are. I don't know
No,
that any of it
it's just audio.
makes any sense without context. But this track is from the second phase of that boss fight. So it's like you fighting them, and then you finally like wear them down to halfway, and they go into this like cutscene into a phase 2, and this is the song that starts playing, and you're just like, I am a fucking god. I will win the day for the forces of right and righteousness. Like, it's great.
Beautiful, beautiful. All right, guys. Well, if you're watching us live, don't go anywhere. We'll have more awards to give after this short break. In the meantime, enjoy Crispy's soundtrack of the year.